Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Thank you very much for joining me tonight on Wednesday, October 28th. I'm going to talk some Nick Saban. He just held his press conference. I want to pipe that in, provide my observations. His final press conference before Alabama takes on Mississippi State and Mike Leach this Saturday at 6 p.m. It should be a very entertaining game. Alabama actually favored by 32 points. Saban talked about the fact that Mississippi State probably going to throw the football like 70 times in this game. So, really excited to talk about that. I also have practice highlights that I'm going to pipe in. I'm going to provide my observations real quick. And then, of course, I'll take your calls 205-850-088. While everybody gets piped in, I'm going to play some Nick Saban. I'm going to talk about my observations from tonight's press conference. I just posted it, so you can watch it in its entirety on our YouTube channel. But here's my takeaways of Nick Saban. Then I'll play practice footage, and then we'll get going. I'll take your calls. Okay, we'll have a great time tonight on Wednesday evening. I want to do the show earlier. I mean, it's time to do it. I felt we could do it at 8 p.m., but I just felt let's get it going. All right, ready to talk some Alabama football. All right, so here is Nick Saban in his presser. So what I'm going to do, pause it, talk about my observations, and then we'll continue with it. Okay, so here we go. Actually, let's see. It's probably not going to work. So what we're going to do is actually see if I can do it this way. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Where are you guys getting checked in from? Yeah, I appreciate it, Eric. Gotta look nice, right? Here's the practice footage, and I'll put that in first. And this is just in, so I haven't even checked it out really.
There it is, good. Get in it. Let's go. That's better. That shoulder in there. Top of the shoulder. Go. Boom. There you go. Zero right down here. We good on that? All right, good job.
All right, that's Alabama. That's practice highlights. That was just distributed by way of Alabama football. And here we go. We got Nick Saban's press conference, and wanted to provide at least my observations from his press conference tonight. And, we'll get that posted right now.
For you to practice and prepare and to improve and do things like you need to do it. That's certainly a challenge for us. At this time of the year, you don't want to have self-pity. What this team has done to this point, they've put themselves in a position to have a chance to be successful, and we want to be able to build on that, but everybody's got to have the right mindset to do that, and you got to believe in practice and preparation to be able to do that. We're playing a team that's going to throw the ball 67 times in a game, and we're going to have to play really, really well to keep them from scoring a lot of points, which they're capable of. Their defense has played very, very well. So they do a lot of stuff up front that creates a lot of problems for you. So that's a challenge for us. So we need to really have great preparation because this is a different kind of team for us to prepare for. And I think that's going to be very important to us being able to perform the way we want to perform on Saturday.
All right, my observations right there after Nick Saban talking about Mississippi State. And thank you very much for joining us. Here I am on the side of the screen, all dressed up, all super chats go to right here, the host tonight, Kyle Henderson. So appreciate the super chats. I think when you look at Nick Saban and kind of his message from his opening statement, again, you can watch the entire press conference on Bama Insider. And of course, I'll take your calls in just a moment. I think overall, I think the message is clear. You have to get your mind right for a different style of team. Mike Leach is a type of coach that is going to bring in the passing attack, as you saw today. And maybe you missed it, but Terrell Shavers actually entered the transfer portal, and he's a big-time receiver that came to Alabama, never got on the field, and then entered the transfer portal today. So there's kind of an exodus at Mississippi State. So that might be a lot of guys are leaving because they just don't fit his program. But the point is, he's a coach that's going to spread you out. And as you saw against Tennessee, Alabama was beat over the top a couple times, more than a couple, right? So I think the pass rush needs to improve. And I think the secondary is absolutely going to be tested. We'll continue with some observations from Nick Saban's press conference.
Okay, we'll start with Charlie Potter.
Hey, Coach, just wondering if you have an update on LeBron Ray and Deontay Brown and anybody else that might be out with an injury.
LeBron Ray is probably questionable for this game. I think we'll probably, to get him right and get him well, probably would be much better for us to just wait until, after this bye week. He's been out there, he's practiced, but he continues to have issues and problems. So we just need to shut him down and let him get healed up so that this is not going to be a problem in the future. Deontay Brown has practiced every day. So, we're that's all I got to say about any injuries.
All right. Saban talking about LeBron Ray and Deontay Brown. I think, Deontay Brown, I saw him last week practicing with a cast on, saw it in some footage. And then against Tennessee, he went out, looked like a shoulder injury. So I think he's going to be fine. LeBron Ray, I think it's a little bit more concerning. Remember, last year he missed most of the season with the foot injury, now dealing with the elbow injury. Hope he gets well, because I think he does add to this defensive line. And I asked this to everybody kind of on the show, on Bama Insider, when you look at Alabama's defensive linemen, who are the pass rushers, right? Christian Barmore and who else? Justin Ebogbe, DJ Dell, LeBron Ray, Phil Mathis? I don't know. I mean, I'd be curious to get your take, and I'll take your calls here in a little while. We're almost we're going to cruise through how this is going to work. I'm going to provide some observations from Saban's press conference, and then I'll take your calls right on the show.
We'll go to Michael Casagrande.
Yeah, I was just wondering if your evaluation of how you've been able to run the ball in the second half, mostly in the fourth quarter. What's your evaluation of that?
It's been good. It's been really good. We've been able to take the air out of the ball, a couple times this year, keeping the ball so the offense doesn't get it back. Did it this past week. Did it, in a couple other games this year. So I think that's very important to winning. If you keep giving the other team possessions in the last 6-7 minutes of the game, if you can keep the ball and they don't get it, they can't score. So I think we've done a really good job of that.
I think, when you look at Alabama's ground game, I think, I've been very impressed with Najee Harris. Everybody has. But I think Brian Robinson has really played like the guy we expected him to. I think he's ran really hard. I think in this last particular game, we saw Trey Sanders really, we saw some good splashes of him. And I think Trey Sanders coming in, especially after that first game where he kind of struggled. But as we kind of look at the stats right here from this last game against Tennessee, he had 7 carries for 39 yards, and I think his longest was 20 yards or something like that. So I think we saw some good signs from Trey Sanders, and, I like what I saw from him. So we continue with Nick Saban's press conference.
We'll go to Aaron Settles.
Nick, Najee Harris talked about after his freshman year, he thought about transferring, which I imagine is not really rare for a freshman who wants to play, maybe who didn't. But since that time, what have you seen from Najee, maturity-wise, mental strength-wise? And does that play into the type of player he is today?
Well, I think he's persevered. I think he's a great competitor. I think great competitors always want to play. And I think he was in a situation where he probably didn't play as much as he wanted to. But I also think that he really showed kind of the competitive character that you really respect in a player. When he continued to try to work, he didn't mope. He would get upset sometimes when he didn't play enough, but it never affected his work ethic on what he needed to do to improve. And I think that's paid tremendous dividends for him now that he is playing. So, I always try to tell the running backs that, we've always played 2 or 3 guys at your position. And that's a good thing for you because your durability is really important. And for you to be able to stay fresh throughout the season because you don't play every snap or you don't carry the ball too much is really probably a positive thing, not only for you to sustain the season, but also from a career standpoint. So I think he understands that. but he's certainly done a great job for us this year and been a real workhorse for us.
I think when you look at Najee Harris, and again, I'm down here on the sidelines. Maybe I could do it like this while I give the observations. I think, you look at a player like Najee Harris, and I think from listening to Nick Saban right there, he's talking a lot about Najee Harris, and kind of the overarching message, I think, is just to be patient. I think we see a lot of guys, if they don't get that playing time that they want, they're quick to somewhat exit out. But I think Najee Harris is a perfect example of somebody who was patient as a freshman, right? Came in here as a 5-star, had to wait his turn, then as a sophomore, junior. And I think even after his junior season, he could have left, right? But this is a guy who came back, wanted to work on his craft. And we've seen him, improve year after year. And I think, it's going to pay dividends for a player like Najee Harris. And then what Saban is saying, kind of getting in that rotation of those other backs. This is something that Alabama has been very good at doing over the past several seasons. And you kind of look at the wear and tear, right? Just as he talked about, look what Josh Jacobs is doing. I mean, he didn't get a ton of carries. I think they used him just enough to where he was effective. Same with Damian Harris, Najee Harris that season when they had all those backs. And, Alabama is running back you. We see these guys in the NFL and what they're doing. So I really like what Nick Saban had to say about Najee Harris. And of course, he's certainly been a workhorse. We continue with Nick Saban's press conference. Take your calls in just a minute after we're done kind of cruising through Nick Saban's press conference before Mississippi State.
We'll go to Tony.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had an update on Ronald Williams. I know it's been a while, but after he broke his arm in the
he's been practicing, for the last 2 weeks. He didn't go to Tennessee because he was sick, but he did practice, and we would have taken him on a trip. He has practiced all week this week, so and I think he's feeling more and more comfortable using his arm. It's healed. He's been cleared, but a player has to get comfortable using whatever was hurt before he's going to be ready to play. But I see significant progress this week.
All right, so Nick Saban is just talking about, the junior college transfer. That's Ronald Williams. Came in and actually had a fractured arm during fall training camp. So we haven't got to see him yet on the field, but I think he's going to add depth to the corner position. This is a guy who was very heavily touted, came in here looking to push, maybe Josh Jobe or not Patrick Surtain, because we knew he was going to start. But this is a guy that can provide some depth, and good to hear that he's back. I mean, I think, from what we heard, it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks from when he got injured. So that's kind of the time frame. So look for Ronald Williams to somewhat get on the field. Good stuff to hear, from Nick Saban regarding the junior college transfer, Ronald Williams. All right, we continue with Nick Saban's press conference, and then I'll take your calls in just a minute right here on Bama Insider.
2 more. We'll start with Mike Rodak.
Just what have you seen out of Brian Branch so far this year, and how, if at all, has his role evolved so far?
Well, I think Brian has really made a lot of progress. He played star for a long time in the beginning of the season. Malachi sort of stepped up in that role, so he was a backup, but we've tried to develop him as a safety, and he's made good progress there. Now we're playing him as a 6 defensive back, a little better cover guy for us, I think. Good blitzer. So he's moved around a lot, which I hate to do with young players. I like to put them in one spot and leave them there. But he has handled it extremely well and has really made a lot of progress. And I think will be a really positive contributor for us, the rest of the season.
Nick Saban talking about Brian Branch, a very talented freshman that's playing for Alabama this season. You look at kind of the freshmen that are playing for Alabama. There's not a lot of freshmen overall that are getting high snaps. I think a lot has to do with just the SEC only schedule. But we did see a lot of freshmen against Tennessee. Brian Branch is a guy who certainly has contributed throughout the early part of the season. I do a very detailed breakdown on every single player back at Bama Insider. I call it Alabama roster intel. But one of the freshmen that I think everybody knows is really standing out has been Malachi Moore. I think someone said it best. I think, you kind of get that Minkah Fitzpatrick vibe from a player like Malachi Moore, a guy who plays very opportunistic, a guy who's kind of all over the place, has 2 interceptions this year with that forced fumble, and then also with, took that fumble to the house. So we continue with Nick Saban's press conference, and then after that, I'll take your calls right here on Bama Insider. Notate the call number at the bottom of the screen.
Okay, we'll finish up with Ogletree.
Yeah, Coach. If I'm not mistaken, Christian Barmore didn't play the first quarter against Tennessee, and then was in there pretty consistently afterward. Was there a reason for that, or is that just how the defensive line rotation went for that game?
It's just how I wanted to rotate the guys. You know, what we do internally with our players on our team is not really, you know, anybody's concern or, you know, really their business. If, you know, a player is I'm not going to explain to you why we use every player the way we use them. I was happy with the way the guy played when he played, and, you know, I think that's the most important thing.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, Coach walking off kind of almost agitated, right? Kyle Henderson at BamaInsider.com. You guys can call into the call-in line right now. I'll take your calls. Put the call-in line number up on the screen and kind of put it in bigger text there. 205-850-0883 is the call-in line number. I'll take your calls. Want to hear from you about this weekend's game between Alabama taking on Mississippi State. Alabama, surprisingly, 32-point favorite going into this game. I'm not surprised in the fact that I think Alabama is going to win, but I think the fact that, you know, it's just such a large margin that, you know, the Crimson Tide is favored by in this particular game where I think Alabama could be a bit suspect over the top. You know, we saw that coming you know, from Tennessee a couple of times. And I think, you know, that was a kind of a very average quarterback. While we wait for the calls, I'll play some footage from today. This is Alabama, and this was from practice footage that was just distributed to us from the University of Alabama. Let me take off all the banners and stuff like that. Do all the show myself, so it's like, you know, bear with me. Call-in line is on the screen. What you're seeing right here is, I'll just rewind it for you guys while we wait for the calls. So you got footage of the offensive lineman, number 55 right there. That's Emil Ekiyor. That is Landon Dickerson right there, number 69. He's a center for Alabama. He's been doing a fantastic job. I mean, remember that play where his helmet got flown off and he's still finishing the ball. Right here, number 79. This is Chris Owens. Now, Chris Owens also played the tackle position for Alabama, played center and played tackle. So he's actually the backup tackle for Alabama. There in the back, number 74, that's Damian George. He's a freshman at Alabama. Guy we really haven't seen get onto the field just yet. Let's see, 78 right here. This is Amari Kite. Amari Kite is a sophomore now out of the Birmingham area. I believe he was teammates with Talia Tagovailoa there for, you know, the final seasons while Talia was here. Number 72, this is Pierce Quick right here. We really haven't got to see too much of Pierce Quick, but I think in time, Pierce Quick is going to be somebody who does contribute for the Crimson Tide. I really have heard good things about Pierce Quick, and the same about Darian Dalcourt, number 71. I can't see him in this particular clip. Right here, number 80, I don't know. Some of these guys might be scout team guys or guys who are kind of, you know, just getting in the rotation as scout team players. This particular player right here, that is Cameron Latu going across the middle of the field. He gets reps continually each week. And then Jalil Billingsley, this is a guy who I think could, you know, kind of step up as almost a receiver. You know, with Jalen Waddle being out, he can kind of be that hybrid guy. This is Joshua McMillan. Get this, excuse me. Joshua McMillan is really the only guy for Alabama that plays both ways. He plays as a fullback on offense, and then he also plays as a linebacker, obviously. So he actually plays both ways, believe it or not. One of the few guys who does. This is Jerez Parks right here. Really haven't seen too much of him. This is Kevin Harris. Same with him. You know, you kind of look at all these outside linebackers. We haven't got to see much of anybody else besides the starters. But we have seen King Makuta, and he's working without a knee brace, which I think this video almost kind of is foreshadowing, right? You get kind of some more footage of King Makuta, a guy that maybe could get onto the field. Looks like he was going to get on the field last year a few times before, you know, he suffered a minor injury. So we'll go ahead and take your calls, and let's see. We got a couple calls on the line right now. Hey, good evening. Thank you very much for calling in. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Kyle, hey, this is Jay in Atlanta. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Jay? I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much. How's your week so far?
It's good. I'm having a good week. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I actually just got a new job. Anyway, it's been a good week. I got a great offer. I'm feeling good about things.
Nice.
And that's saying a lot during a pandemic. So things are good. I do want to touch on a few things. I've watched a lot of the highlights from Tennessee. I'm excited about Slade. I really am. That's not wishful thinking or silver lining. I really do think he brings a whole new element to this offense. I mean, you're not going to replace Waddle, but I think it's going to be a real tricky formula for defenses to try and break down how they're going to deal with Slade. And the other thing I want to talk about, you had mentioned Joshua McMillan. Has he been doing anything on defense? I just don't feel like he's been getting much play.
To be honest, no. I mean, he hasn't been getting play at all. I mean, you kind of look at a guy like Joshua McMillan, and, he's been a senior here at Alabama, a guy that had an injury. He's actually been here quite a long time. A lot of people talk about Ben Davis. Well, Joshua McMillan has also been here for quite some time. I think it's probably just an overall athletic standpoint. And then you have guys like Dylan Moses and you have Christian Harris in front of him. So you're not going to see too much of, Josh McMillan. I think they're playing him because he fits into that fullback role well. But overall, you're just not going to see too much of him. What else you got, Jay?
So I also noticed, no one was really talking about this, but Najee seemed really out. He seemed really down in that Tennessee game. He worked so hard for that touchdown that they didn't give to him. And then they ran Mac up the middle on the very next play. And I felt like Najee was a little irritated that we didn't challenge that, because it was clear that he got in. And I just feel like that, coupled with Waddle's injury, it just felt like every time they went over to the sideline and showed Najee, he had his head down. He just didn't look like he was feeling too good about things. So I don't know. It just seemed like an emotional game for him, a little bit of frustration. And then also the player, and I know we're talking about him, but my gosh, if you watch Landon Dickerson, this kid, I think I get more and more excited about him every time I go back to watch highlights. He is the man amongst boys on that offensive line. I mean, it's like he might not even need to go to the NFL. I feel like when he graduates college, just like make him a Hollywood star, put him in like Conan the Barbarian reboot or something, because he just looks like he is out there lifting linebackers off their feet like 10-yard blocks.
I think
anyway,
to build off kind of your point on first, let's start talking about Najee Harris, and I think kind of like from an emotional standpoint, I think that, it was clear that he was bummed, and it really affected him that Jalen Waddle was lost for what could be the season. I think that just affected everybody that was watching that game, just because it's so sickening. I mean, this guy puts in all these guys put in so much time, to build their craft, and you see somebody like that certainly go out. I kind of thought the same thing on the touchdown, but who knows? I think it was more just kind of the emotional shock of losing somebody, because Najee Harris has talked about injuries before. So I think that's kind of, when something like that happens, it really resonates with you. And I think kind of to talk about Landon Dickerson, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the guy, I put it like this, like if you're ever caught in a barroom brawl, like that's the guy you want with you. You know what I'm saying? Like he's mean, he's nasty, he's going to break beer bottles, he's going to fight to the bitter end. And I think like he's that type of guy, and he has that alpha mentality. And you combine that with kind of the country boy that he brings. I mean, Landon Dickerson, certainly the best center in the entire country, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it was during the press conference earlier this week. I loved. I think you might have been at this press conference, but when Mac was talking about Landon, it was hilarious. All he could do was laugh, because he was just like, I love seeing that Mac, obviously the team loves Landon, but clearly Mac and him have a great bond, which is so critical for a center and a quarterback. But I loved how Mac was like chuckling and saying, man, Landon can do anything. Landon will fix your car. Landon can just help you with anything. So you can see that Landon brings that to the team, that he's like kind of a big brother to the rest of the guys, and brings that mentality onto the field. Like, I got you. And I think that inspires everyone to have a little more confidence, knowing he's the tip of the spear. So I'm just excited to see that guy mow down linebackers all the way through the national championship, which we will win. But I do want to say one last thing. My grandfather was from Clanton, Alabama, and he would always say, "Don't jinx a good thing with Alabama football." And you and I had a conversation after Georgia about not seeing a lot of injuries. And gosh, I hope we didn't jinx it, because I feel like we're starting to see those injuries pile up, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it is a gauntlet of a season. But thank you very much for calling, Jay, and I look forward to catching up with you later on this week before Alabama and Mississippi State.
Roll Tide.
All right, take it easy. Roll Tide, TJ. All right, got our next caller on the line right now. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from? Hello? All right, looks like we missed a call. So go ahead and call back. Call line is open. 205-850-0883 is the call line number. Appreciate it. I think kind of to build on Jay's point, kind of when you look at the injuries, I mean, this team has been rather healthy. And I know, knock on wood, you lose a player like Jalen Waddle, I think it's obviously going to be monumental. This is a guy who, in my opinion, and you guys have seen my shows plenty of times, I feel he's the best overall and the most explosive player in all of college football. You lose a guy like that, it's going to be hard to recover. Alabama is a different program than most, where they can go, to the depth chart and plug and play and bring another guy into that fold. Slade Bolden, sure, he's not a Jalen Waddle, but I think what he brings is, dependability. I think this is a guy who is going to catch many balls. I know everybody's fixated on, the pass that he dropped. Okay, I get it. He should have caught that. But my point is, I think they have quality depth. You also have Javon Baker. He's a guy that I think Alabama could look to. And, we'll see how those receivers step up. We're going to take our next call right now. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the line, man. What's your name and where are you calling in from?
It's Q from Brooklyn. How you doing, Kyle?
Hey, what's up, Q? Thank you very much for calling, man. You're on the show, man. Take it.
Hey, no problem. It's game week, we just got to make sure we stay healthy. I told you, I fear is injuries this week, because every time we play Mississippi State, we always come up with an injury. My thing is, I want to see if we're up by halftime by like 2-3 touchdowns. I want to see the second team go in, second team wide receivers go in. I would like to see if Slade Bolden and Xavier Williams rotate. I want to see what both of their qualities are. We know Slade Bolden can catch the ball, but I want to see if Xavier Williams could catch and give us that extra boost with the extra runs like Jalen Waddle did over the top. Our defense is there. Definitely got to step up. Mike Leach is going to throw the ball around. Our secondary got to come big. Go home. I still think, Kyle, that Josh Jobe is our best cover corner. He's better. I think he's better than Surtain. And I don't know if you agree or not, but I highly rate Josh Jobe over Surtain any day. Secondary just got to play big. Look, I said it before. Dylan Moses, he's been worse than the economy that Bush handed over to Obama. And he's just got to step up if he wants to be in the NFL. I mean, he came back for a reason to improve his draft stock, and right now it's looking too shaky. I think even Christian Harris is the one is the Mike linebacker now. He's playing well, so he could give out the signals. We don't need you to give out signals. We need you to make plays, shoot the gap, drop back in coverage, make the tackle when a running back gets out the backfield. That's what he's been missing. We watched the game against Georgia and Tennessee. Running backs coming up the backfield. He's too late. He's reading in late. I mean, and I said that Freddie Roach got to learn how to coach the defensive line to get to the pass rush. We got to get the pass rush in. We got to make sure we get to the quarterback, hit him, knock him down, give him some hurries. I mean, Christian Baltimore got to step up. DJ Dale, Fidesz Mathis, he has to step up as well. I want to see more of the kids that we recruited for the next gen. And what Coach Saban needs to do is get other kids involved. We can't be up by 3 touchdowns and then we still have the starters. No, you need to make sure it's the SEC. This is time for them to get used to the SEC and what they have years to come for. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I have to say. Roll Tide, though. We're going to win, though. We're going to knock them out the park, baby.
All right, Q, do what you do, man. We can't just let you go without you going on blessings on blessings.
All right, listen here, Roll Tide fans. First of all, I'd like to say God bless America. God bless me, Kyle. God bless you. God bless Coach Saban. God bless Alabama football. God bless all the Crispin Tide fans. And God bless the President of the United States. Hey, 1 week away, 4 more years. Can I get it? Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much for calling in, Q. We always appreciate it, man. Be safe, all right?
Yes, sir. I plan on checking out that restaurant that you wanted me to this weekend. So I'll give you a review after the game.
All right. Yeah. I forgot about that. But good heads up, Q. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. God bless.
God bless you too.
Roll Tide, baby.
All right, Roll Tide. That's Q in Brooklyn. Got callers on the line. I'll get to you guys next. Hey, thank you so much, Donald Clark. I really appreciate the super chat. It means a lot to me. I put a lot into this show, and I really appreciate it. It really means a great deal, and I hope that my overall presence kind of exudes how much I put into this show, because I think that I want to give you guys the highest quality of a product, and I hope you guys are feeling that when you guys watch the show. Also, if you can't super chat, a super thumbs up really goes a long way, helps get our channel out to other fans. So thank you very much. And we got another super chat coming in from Damien. Thank you very much, Damien. I really appreciate it. I know you took care of me last Saturday, so I really appreciate it as well. And thank you so much. And then we also got one more from DB. He's got 5 on it, right? If you guys watch, you guys know what that's from, right? So thank you so much. I really appreciate the super chats, and we'll take our next caller, and they'll start right now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Yeah, it's Edward from California.
Hey, what's up, Edward? It's really good to hear from you. It's been a little bit since we got to catch up with one another.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for taking my call. Just a couple of things that I wanted to go over. The first one is I feel like Mac Jones has played amazing this year, and he's leading the nation in QBR, completion percentage, and I believe in passing yards. And every week you still hear that Lawrence is the favorite and this and that. But I feel if you also take into consideration the competition, obviously Alabama, played Texas A&M and put up a bunch of points on them. And then Georgia had the #1 defense, and Mac Jones was lights out against them. I feel like Mac Jones deserves to be in serious consideration for the Heisman. And I think based on his body of work so far, I feel like he should be the front runner right now, not Lawrence, in terms of what he's actually done this year. And I just wanted your input on that.
Yeah, I think, and thank you, Edward, for calling in. I really appreciate it again. I think when you kind of look at these two, and I have the stats kind of lined up side by side, I also do the graphic work here at BamaInsider. So surprise, surprise. I think, Trevor has a little bit of some better numbers right now, because I think he's played one more game, but he's also played against the Citadel. He's also played against Georgia Tech, and he's played against, competition that hasn't been the same for Mac Jones. And I've talked about this several times. A lot of people were always wondering, when is Mac Jones, can he win the big game? Is he going to win the big game? And now that he won that big game, and I'm circling the game against Georgia because he won against the, one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in college football, and, threw for over 400 yards. I think what Mac Jones has been able to do, look at the numbers, 115, 146, 78%. The efficiency of Mac Jones is really incredible. And I think that's going to stay up even without Jalen Waddle, because there's guys on this team that can continue to be high efficient receivers. 1,900 yards. I know he didn't throw a touchdown against Tennessee. That was kind of an oddity, but he still threw, what did he start the game? Like 13 of 13, 14 of 14. So overall efficiency. And I really like the fact, and I don't have the updated chart right now, but his downfield efficiency when he goes 20 yards down the field. We all remember that pass that he threw to John Mechie. And John Mechie, with the great body control, comes down with that catch. Everybody knows what I'm talking about in this last game. He's really been effective. And I think, head-to-head, Trevor Lawrence is that guy that everybody just has built for that Heisman, right? He's got the long, flowy hair. Plays for Clemson, the new flashy toy. But, head to head, I think these two certainly going to be, going at it head to head. And then we can't forget about Justin Fields, what he did against Nebraska, 52-17. He was 20 of 21, 276 yards with 2 touchdowns. We all saw that Wisconsin and Nebraska is canceled today. So a lot's going to affect the Big Ten, and everybody's going to have to deal with this, how they can deal with it. But overall, to get to your point, I think Mac Jones certainly needs to be in that conversation. And if there's anyone out there that took those odds early on, credit to you, because Mac Jones balling out of control. What else you got, man?
Yeah, thank you. The other thing is, obviously with Jalen Waddle being out, that hurts the offense a lot. I mean, he's the most dynamic player in the nation. But the one main reason why I think Alabama still has a great shot to win it all, especially if their defense can improve, is I feel like without a doubt, Alabama has the best offensive line in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Najee Harris is the best running back in the nation. And then on top of it, with Devontae Smith and John Mechie, that's a solid 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
And even when Waddle was in there, Mechie had, I believe it was against Texas A&M, he had a monster game that game.
Yeah.
So I just feel like the key is we have the balance. If you try to stop the pass with Mechie and Devontae Smith, we can run the ball with Najee Harris and Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
And as long as they can continue to protect Mac Jones, which obviously they've done a great job at, and like you pointed out, he's been amazing with the deep ball. I mean, his accuracy is just amazing, whether it's 5 yards or 20 yards. And because I feel like that's where the Alabama has a huge advantage. Like, for example, I watched Clemson a little bit when they played Syracuse this week.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson was only up 27-21 in that game late in the third quarter. And their receivers on Clemson's team were struggling to get separation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not very fast. They're not, obviously with Justin Ross being hurt and T. Higgins gone to the draft. I just feel like the key is going to be Alabama's depth. And as long as, they can stay healthy on the O-line, Mac Jones stays healthy, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, and also John Mechie stay healthy. And then, of course, Slade Bolden will step up and Javon Baker. But I just feel like if Alabama plays to their abilities and if they can, improve on the missed tackling, because on defense, that's one of the biggest issues. They're still having a lot of missed tackles. They need to get a little bit more of a pass rush at times, because a lot of times it's not so much about getting a lot of sacks. If you can get after the quarterback and force him to get the ball out quick and force bad throws, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback and the quarterback has all day to throw, he's going to pick the secondary apart. So I just feel like that if Alabama could stay healthy, I still feel like that they have an excellent shot to win the whole thing based on their balance on offense and if they could step it up on defense. I just want to know your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll answer on the other line, Edward, and then I'll get to the next caller. Okay. So thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think, Edward brings up a great point. And again, thank you very much for calling in from California. I believe he's out in San Diego, such a beautiful area. I miss, I used to live in California. I used to live in Redondo Beach, out in Los Angeles. Miss it. It was a great time period in my life. I think when you look at the overall depth for the Alabama Crimson Tide, I think certainly, this team still has enough, when you look through the roster to make a real run at this national championship. I think overall, the offense, and just like Edward was saying, the offensive line is fantastic. It starts with Landon Dickerson. We saw Deontay Brown go out and they mixed in with Chris Owens. What do you guys think about Chris Owens? I go back and forth about his play, but he did grade out, decently on Pro Football Focus. Emil Ikior is a guy that we don't really talk enough about. But he plays that guard position very well, has a lot of experience, and I think he's been doing a good job. And I think I continue to see improved play from Alex Leatherwood, Evan Neal. Those two tackles have been doing a really good job. And I thought Najee Harris did a great job in pass pro in this last game. If you look at kind of some of the blitzes that he picked up, I think he's kind of an underrated pass blocker, and I think that's going to only create more value for a player like Najee Harris as we continue to look to that 2021 NFL draft. Thank you very much for the call again. And thank you very much for the super chats. I really appreciate it. And we'll take our next caller starting right now. Good evening. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hunter from Harp, Alabama.
Hey, Hunter. Thank you very much for calling in. I really appreciate it. You're on the show. Go ahead.
Hey, first off, man, I just wanted to say thank you for putting on the show, man. You do a great job, and I really enjoyed the show.
Oh, no problem, man. Thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate our dialogue, man. So take it away.
I heard a guy on ESPN today saying that without Jalen Waddle, Bama wouldn't be able to win a national championship. And I'm frustrated with that comment because I think John Mechie can be just as he might not have the speed of Waddle, but he has the playmaking ability of Waddle, in my opinion. I mean, Mechie's just shown up and shown out this year.
Yeah, I think absolutely Alabama could win a national championship without Jalen Waddle. It's going to be more difficult, obviously, because, as we talk about, you just can't replace a Jalen Waddle. But I think they can mix and match enough, and they do have guys that we haven't even really seen yet. For example, Javon Baker is a guy that, we've talked about several times on the show. He's only played in 2 snaps. A lot of these freshmen aren't playing a lot just because of this SEC schedule. But I think, to kind of go to your point, John Mechie is a guy who's really starting to blossom. And I knew he would be the third guy coming into the season. I just didn't know that he was going to be this good. I mean, the body control, his overall catch radius is very good. And, he plays at a very high level for, I think he only started playing, on CBS's broadcast. They said he just started playing football at the age of 14. It's pretty crazy, right? I mean, he's not much older than, what is he, like 19 years old, if that, something like that. So he's playing at an extremely high level, and I think it's clear that he has a lot of chemistry with Mac Jones. So John Mechie, absolute baller. And we're not even talking about Devontae Smith. I mean, so many times, throughout Devontae Smith's career, have we just, people don't even talk about him. But, I mean, he has 45 catches through 5 games, and you know that if the ball is up, he's going to go get it. What else you got, Hunter?
Yeah, and to your point, John Mechie was a basketball player in high school and played football as well, and he's just an overall athlete. And 2, with the defense, I think we've seen improvements every week from our defense. Yeah, I had to give them crap after the Ole Miss game for how horribly they played, but when you see them play teams like Georgia, they're able to get it together. They're able to rally the troops and come together and play good defense. I think that we might not have the defense that we had in the 2016 defense, but I think that 2016 team probably the best defense I've ever seen in college football. I mean, that was just a dynamic defense. I mean, they were really good. But I think we like the previous caller said, we got to get better on tackling. I don't know who's responsible for coordinating that. I guess that falls back on Pete Golding, but we've got to do better. If we're going to compete with Clemson and Ohio State, we've got to tackle better. We can get through the rest of this SEC schedule and win out, I think. But to play against those really good teams, we've got to be able to tackle. And I think with the way Mac's playing and the way that Mechie stepped up, let's see what we get from Baker. With Javon and Trayshawn Holden coming in, I think they'll get some reps in this week. We'll see more of them as the year goes on. But, I think we have a real good shot on winning this thing, and I really like to see Saban win another national championship.
Yeah, I think, kind of to go off your point, and I want to talk about the defense, and I kind of put the defense in the headline of the show because I think, the offense, the major storyline obviously is how are they going to replace Jalen Waddle? But I think what's concerning is the defense, right? And especially the open field missed tackles, the lack of pressure that Alabama gets. And I get you can't always, just like Edward was saying from San Diego, you can't always equate sacks on pass rush. But I think Alabama's not even getting to the quarterback. There were several times in this last game where they just didn't send anybody towards the quarterback and then allowing Garantano to go over the top. I mean, we saw Jordan Battle get beat. We saw Daniel Wright give up a big loss. We even saw Patrick Surtain, which doesn't happen often, surrender a touchdown. So I think, the defensive side of the ball is kind of the focus, and that was our focus going in. I think Surtain is a great corner. I think Job is a great corner. I think Battle is certainly a guy. We've all kind of been up and down about Daniel Wright, but the point is, if you don't get heat on the quarterback, and especially when you play a better team, a team that throws the ball 70 times per game, like we're about to see now. Now, I get it. Mississippi State, in my opinion, doesn't have an elite quarterback, but the problem is you're going to face 70 passes or whatever, how many times they're going to throw it. So I guess we'll have to see how that secondary improves, but I think a lot has to do with that lack of pass rush. What's your final thought, Hunter? Take it.
Yeah, one more thing. We haven't even seen Brian Robinson and what's that kid's last name? His last name Robertson. He's a corner that came in January. We didn't even see him.
Jaquez Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, Jaquez Robinson. We haven't even seen, those guys. And who knows? The way that these guys are playing in the secondary right now, might create some opportunities for guys like him to step in, in certain situations, and we can see what those guys can do. Jaquez Robertson was one of the most highly recruited corners in the country last year. So we'll see what happens as this secondary defense goes on. I don't think they're bad. I just don't think they're playing to the Alabama standard, and we've got to get back to that somehow.
All right. Well, thank you very much for calling in. I certainly agree with a lot of points you made, especially on the defense. We'll take our next call, but I appreciate it, Hunter. Please call again, and we'll catch up next time.
All right. Roll Tide.
Yep. Roll Tide to you, buddy. All right. Hunter from Alabama. Well, I mean, I wanted to talk about the defense a lot, and check out this photo. All right. I was kind of paging through the photos, and I like to have all the photos nice and organized for you. But look at this. Okay. This is Pete Golding at your bottom right of your screen. Okay. Who's looking over Golding's shoulder? Okay, this is an inside linebacker. This is Christian Harris, right? So Golding is looking at the board right here. And look at Saban. Saban is right there. I'm just saying. All right. All right, we're going to take our next caller. Hey, good evening. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, it's Ashton from Florida.
Oh, awesome. What's up, man? Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
No problem. At this point in the season, do you think Najee Harris has a better chance of winning the Heisman than Mac Jones?
Najee Harris more than Mac Jones. No, I think that, both of those guys have certainly been playing at such a high level. It's almost like Najee Harris. I mean, even in that Georgia game, I think he ran for 31 carries for 151 yards with 1 touchdown. And it kind of gets overshadowed because Mac Jones threw for 417 yards. I think, kind of when you look at the Heisman Trophy Award, it's become, a quarterback award. And that's just kind of how it is. And I think when you have the production, like we talked about, of Mac Jones, and especially what he's doing this year from an efficiency standpoint, and you have another quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, I think those two are probably the favorite. So is Najee Harris going to even get invited to New York? I mean, I know it's way too early. This is all rat poison, right? But I think that, he'd be kind of the odd man out, because you also have Justin Fields, who I think is going to be very productive in his season, who's also a quarterback. So I think right now I'd probably rate it, Trevor, Mac, and then, we'll see what Justin Fields do. But that's not to discredit anything that, Mac Jones has done, or I'm sorry, Najee Harris has done this year, because I think he's done a fantastic job. I mean, 14 touchdowns through 5 games, that certainly says a lot. What else you got?
About Jalen Waddle, I think he was pretty good. I think he was our best wide receiver. Do you think there's any chance of him coming back next year, his senior year?
No, I don't. Because I think with a player like him, I think he's a guy that screams, instant impact player, in the NFL on day one. I think he's just that good. So I think, even though this year is a blanket year, meaning that, every person can come back without, affecting their overall, eligibility. I don't think he's one of those guys. I think there's just too much money on the table. And, I think, we've probably seen his last, game as a, member of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
That's sad. But I also got another question for you. Nick Saban, we know I'm going to college in like 3 years. I really want to go to Alabama. And I'm really looking forward to go to football games. And I'm wondering, who do you think is going to be the next coach after Nick Saban? He is like 69, I think.
Yeah, that's a good question. He's actually going to have so fans, if you guys are sending birthday cards or getting cakes ready, Ashton has brought up a great point. It's Nick Saban's birthday on Halloween. He'll be 69 years old, right? So, I mean, let me hear from you in the comment box. Like, who do you guys think is going to be the next coach to replace Nick Saban? I think if it was to have, let's say Nick Saban was to walk away this year, which I don't think is going to happen. I think the perfect guy to be the guy after the guy, because no one wants to be the guy after the guy. You always want to be the guy after the guy. You get what I'm saying? Like, you always want to be the next coach. But I think Steve Sarkisian could be a perfect guy to be implemented. Now, he's a guy who has the credentials. I think he's resurrected his career while being at Alabama. Everybody saw kind of his downfall and the things that he dealt with at USC. But what I'm saying is that would be like the guy after the guy. And then, long term, I don't know, you got to look at the other coaches around it and be realistic. Who else is going to be out there? I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people want to just point to the fact that Dabo Swinney could be that guy, but moving from Clemson to Alabama, is that a jump up? Is that a jump? Is that a lateral move? I don't know. I mean, you got to look at kind of where both those programs are. And I think, if one is to win a national championship this year, I think if it's Clemson, that could start to separate the Clemson Tigers from even Alabama. What else you got? You got a final thought? Go ahead.
I was really interested in the Nick Saban thing because, like, I'm not even gonna lie. I stay up at night sometimes thinking about like what's gonna happen to Nick Saban. Like, I can't even sleep for like an hour, like not being able to go to sleep. So I'm happy to know, I'm happy to know Alabama is such a good program that we're gonna have an amazing coach afterwards. I just want to say roll tide, and we're gonna go undefeated this season.
All right.
Good luck. Bye.
Well, please call again. We appreciate it. We always appreciate the dialogue. All right.
Bye.
See you, buddy. All right. Ashton out in Florida. Appreciate it. Good caller. Seriously. I love what he brings to the table. All right. We'll take our next caller. And by the way, who do you guys think will replace Nick Saban? I mean, I feel, and I said this on my observations after that Georgia game, I felt there was like a lot of rejuvenation from him following that game. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree? I just think that I saw like him being at home or whatever for those couple of days. I don't think he's ready to go there. And I think that perfect guy would be Sarkisian right after Saban, but I don't think he'd be the long-term guy. I don't know. I could be wrong. This is all, hypothetical, but, everybody's talking about it. Or everybody, kind of has that in the back of their mind. Okay. We're going to take our next caller starting now. Hey, thank you very much for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Demetrius from North Carolina, Kyle.
Hey, what's up, Demetrius? Thank you very much for calling in. How's your week going so far? Productive?
Yeah, it's productive. I can't kill nothing, won't nothing die. Just staying steady.
All right, you're on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Once again, I want to apologize to Mac Jones. I never did see this coming from him. And, Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, all have excellent defenses. I mean, he dissected them fairly easy. Shout out to Coach Sarkisian for, coming up. But, it's a different dynamic I see from him versus Tua. Tua, to me, always kind of want to make the big play. Mac, he'll live with dumping the ball off or take a sack or something to keep the drive alive. Live and fight another day. And shout out to the young man. I will admit my fault. But to the defense, I still see a slight improvement every game. Like I live and die with. We lost 2 dynamic defensive coordinators, and they took a lot of recruits from us. And everybody harp on the past. If they remember the past, Alabama had a plethora of players that could rotate in and out. They had upperclassmen, training, you mix in a few lowerclassmen that could come in and contribute. And we just don't have that right now. I mean, we slowly but surely getting back there. And, I'm quite satisfied with the defense, I mean, yeah, you're going to give up some plays, but what defense is not going to give up no plays?
Yeah, but I mean, kind of looking at this game, we're on the line with, we got Demetrius from North Carolina. Thank you very much for joining us. Please hit the thumbs up button. We really appreciate it. Like Demetrius, what I'm getting at, though, this last game, I mean, was it frustrating to see that Alabama didn't send anybody after the quarterback? Like there was like no pass rush. I think there was 1 quarterback hurry and 0 sacks. I mean, that's just something that I don't think we're accustomed to when we're watching the game, especially from, when there's guys on Alabama, you feel that could get after the quarterback. Different blitz packages. I mean, Christian Harris, the way that he's been playing with the inside linebackers, been playing fast. They really haven't been sending him. William Anderson, I think they've done a good job. Teams now know that he's coming off the edge, so they've done a good job getting to him. But that doesn't mean that Alabama still can't send pressure. I think the only pressure that they had in this last game was from Brian Branch, and he's a freshman corner. So kind of what's your take on Alabama not sending kind of the pressure or the lack thereof?
My take on that is that, how can I put it? You know your personnel, and maybe maybe they simplify the defense for them instead of trying to make it exotic. That's my take on it. Simplify what each player can do, what they can and can't, what their strength is, and what we got to work with. I mean, simplify for them, and then moving forward, we see what, and keep this in mind also. I mean, regardless, Alabama is gonna get everybody's best shot. Everybody. I don't care who. If anybody gonna put on the show, they gonna put it on against Alabama so they can go to their recruits. They can go to the booster clubs. We closing the gap. Even though Jeremy Pruitt really couldn't say that this year. Hey, they gonna take everybody's best shot. Along with the best shot is gonna come with, we're gonna try to do something to get a little extra. I played football in high school. We're gonna do something to get a little extra shot in, maybe twist of an ankle. Hey, you'd be surprised of what's going on the bottom of the pile. So we're gonna take everybody's shot, and we always have, we always will take everybody's shot. Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, and I've been listening to the callers. Look, we are Alabama Crimson Tide football. What is all this Clemson talk like we should be fearing them? We the one got 18 national championships. We got all our hands and both our toes filled up with rings. They still trying to play catch up. I don't want all this like you kind of fear them. What is it to fear? They still chasing us.
On the line with Demetrius from North Carolina. Hey, Donald, thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us. I think, Demetrius, you bring up a good point. And I kind of look at, that, and that's why I kind of, mentioned, Clemson, because, that's kind of the one team that I think is up there with Alabama. And I think Alabama was up there kind of by themselves for such a long time. But I now think that Clemson's at that table. I think that Ohio State believes that they are at that table as well, but they're not quite there. LSU got a taste of what was on the table, and then quickly, kind of downward spiral for them. But I get, what you're saying. I think you make a great point when you bring up that everybody's going to play their best against Alabama. Like, that's their Super Bowl, right? Every single team, that's their Super Bowl. And in fact, Jeremy Pruitt said that Alabama and Tennessee, that the gap is closing. There was an article and he's quoted saying that the gap is closing. And I was like, which game did you watch? Because I don't think that the gap is closing in terms of those two teams, right? I think their offensive line did a good job. I think their offensive line is very good, probably their best unit. But in terms of the gap closing, not really sold on that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that was just, frustration from, I ain't going to call him, but the athletic director, he trying to appease the athletic director of the fan base, like everything's good. And then you put your best shot out there and everybody get pumped up for Alabama. And guess what? Still, that was 10 times worse than last year. I mean, really, we left at least three more touchdowns off the board. So I don't know what Coach Pruitt is talking about. I got respect for him, but that aspect,
and me too. I think like a lot of people would actually like to see Pruitt come back to Alabama, and I have a lot of respect for him too. But in terms of like closing the gap, but anyways, Demetrius, we got to wrap it up here. I got to get to my next caller, but thank you so much for calling in. I always appreciate the dialogue that you and I share. I think it's comical, and I think you also hit on some good points. So thank you so much for coming to the show today. I appreciate it.
All right, you have a good one, Kyle.
All right, take it easy. Demetrius. I love when Demetrius calls. Demetrius, please keep calling in, man. I love that dialogue, and you also bring up some great points. So appreciate it. My name is Kyle Henderson, Bama Insider. I really appreciate you guys calling in. I'll put the call-in number at the bottom of the screen, 205-8500. 883. Got a 205, a 205, a 904, 256, and a 205 in the call queue. So I'm going to get to you guys. I'll make time for you guys. And I want to start the show earlier so I could, have a little bit more time and then also kind of dip out so I can kiss my babies goodnight as well. I got 2 kids. I'm married, the whole deal. So, this isn't just something that I do on the side. This is my full-time job. and of course, all the coverage back at Bama Insider. So I really appreciate you joining. And if you're new to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell. Always know when you'll be notified when we drop coverage on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And of course, I'll put this on a podcast. So we're trying to build up our podcast. So wherever you get your podcast, just go to search Bama Insider, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Next caller starts now. Hey, thank you very much for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, this is Corey calling from Chesapeake, Alabama.
Hey, what's up, Corey? Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. You having a good week so far?
I've had a great week. Just looking forward to see the Tide roll against Mississippi State. I have a few things I want to ask you.
Sure.
Number one, how do you think Alabama will do against the air raid offense? Because, like you said, if we can't get pressure on the quarterback, it makes it difficult to defend a good passing team. And I know Mississippi State has struggled throwing the ball, but all it takes is busted coverages and no pressure to make a bad offense look good. So how do you think we'll hold up in your opinion?
On the line with Corey from Alabama. I think that, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't know, because this is a different type of team that I think we're accustomed to seeing. This isn't a team that's going to throw it, 30 times a game. This is a team that's coming in strictly that they're going to throw it every single time. Now, with that, you're going to make some plays. You're also going to make some mistakes. I think there's been a couple games where their quarterback's thrown 5 interceptions or something like that in a game. So you're going to see, it's going to present, number one, an opportunity for the secondary to get better, because I think when you look long-term, I don't even know if you're going to face another team that throws the ball this much. And I think this is a particular area that Alabama needs to improve. So Nick Saban's always about creating value and finding ways to get better. And what way to get better than going against Mike Leach, an offensive mind that we've seen, for the last several years do some amazing thing with some offenses. I am a little bit concerned about the secondary, but I think that, kind of behind the scenes at Mississippi State, there's a lot going on negatively kind of behind the scenes. You've seen kind of almost a mass exodus from some of their guys. I don't know how Alabama's going to, fare in this particular game. They're going to give up yards. They're probably going to give up some touchdowns, but I kind of look at that line, which is 32 by Alabama, even without Jalen Waddle. So the guys in Vegas don't miss. And, I think Alabama comes out, and I don't think Mississippi State has any way to stop Alabama's offense. I don't think, you definitely don't want to get into a shootout, one of these wild Big 12 games. But I think the secondary has to get to the quarterback. The defensive line has to get to the quarterback. And I think the secondary, they have to make plays, and they cannot get beat over top. What else you got, Corey?
How's practice been this week, in your opinion?
From what I heard, it's been right where it needs to be. I think it's kind of always about that refocusing. You have some guys that have been nicked up. As you heard on the press conference, Ronald Williams, who's our junior college transfer corner, it looks like he could be back this coming week. He had a fractured arm injury. But, for the most part, this team has been pretty healthy. I think, the big injury to Waddle, I think, was a blow, because Alabama has been so healthy. I think you've seen this team coming into the season kind of injured from time to time with like an ACL or whatever. But, for the most part, this team has been very healthy considering everything that's going around. But I think, this team's focus, and I think, they know this back end of the schedule. They're going to be favored in every single game from here on out for the regular schedule. But I think, there's 2 teams on that schedule that are redemption games, LSU, Auburn. But I think it's all about this Saturday focusing on Mississippi State, taking care of a team that they're not accustomed to seeing, an offense they're not accustomed to seeing. And but everything from practice, I think these guys are ready to go. I know people have said, there's rumblings about a midseason coaching change with Pete Golding. That doesn't make sense. Why would they derail the momentum that they have and make a mid-season coaching change? I don't see Nick Saban doing anything during the mid-season.
Do you think Alabama, once they get there, can defeat Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields defensively, or what is it going to take to beat them? Because will we just have to win a shootout and get lucky and score enough points, or can our defense make enough progress in the season to get stops? I mean, because that's what I think it's going to have to come down to. Is just get enough stops, because to me, when I look at Trevor Lawrence, you're basically playing against a pro in college. That's how good he is. And wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We're on the line with Corey from Alabama. I think Corey, in my opinion, I think it would take a shootout to beat a team like Clemson. I think that it would take a shootout to beat a team like Ohio State. Can Alabama's defense rise up and make enough plays in those type of games to beat those type of teams? Of course, it's all about the teams on the front end of the or kind of this back end of the schedule. But when you look to those upper tier teams, I think absolutely it's going to be all about the defense. There's nothing wrong with this offense at all, other than the fact that they're missing Jalen Waddle. Nothing's wrong with the offense. I think the defense is where our question marks were before the season and where the question marks are right now at the midway point. But the defense has to step up. They have to make plays. They have to get after the quarterback. They have to play opportunistic football. But you're right. I think Trevor Lawrence certainly is a pro out there with the amount of experience that he has, with the size that he has, the athleticism. Everything about him is going to be difficult to stop, especially a guy like Justin Fields as well. Ohio State's coming. Clemson's coming in the long run. But as you know, it's all about that game against Mississippi State. What's your final thought, Corey? Take it.
Well, I think as long as we stay healthy, knock on wood, and if you remember last year, LSU, they at times got torched like Alabama did, but they steadily made improvements. And I know if we can just make improvements steadily, we can defeat Clemson or Ohio State. And I know 18 is what we're looking for because there's going to be a mass exodus after this year of players. So I think this is the year we need to win it in order to satisfy the fans. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal is as a championship every single year at Alabama, and I think it's clear. Anytime that a team has this type of offense, a team has the defensive components that Alabama does. I mean, they're certainly going to be in a mix. I've really liked what I've seen from Alabama through the first 5 games. We're always going to be nitpicky about Alabama just because the goal is perfection here in Tuscaloosa, and rightfully so. I mean, why do things that aren't perfect, right? And but I think they certainly have everything it takes not only to win this weekend, but in the long run as well. So thank you very much, Corey. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you next time. Okay.
Yeah, good talk to you, Kyle. Roll Tide.
All right, roll Tide, buddy. All right, that's Corey out in Alabama. Hey, Tawny, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm glad you like the show. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm gratefully appreciate it. You guys coming in with the super chats really means a lot. And, a thumbs up goes a long way as well. So thank you very much for all the thumbs up. We'll get to our next caller. And we got a 205-904-256-205 and a 615. Be patient. I'll get to you guys as soon as I can. Want to give everybody their time on the air. And our next caller starts right now. Hey, thank you very much for calling. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
What's up, Kyle? This is Sam from Alabama, man.
Hey, what's up, Sam? Thank you so much for calling in, man. It's we got to wrap last Saturday, man. Almost after that Tennessee game. Now we're talking Mississippi State and Mike Leach. What's on your mind, man? Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I know you talked about the next head coach if Nick Saban had to retire after this season. Initially, I was thinking about Jeremy Pruitt because of what he did in a couple of years. I think he did win like 8 games in a row or something like that because he is a defensive coach. He's a pretty good defensive coordinator. Head coach is still kind of questionable at this time, but I was initially thinking about him. But I also thought about Steve Sarkisian. I was like, if we needed a coach right now, if Nick Saban retired, we needed a coach right now to fill in that spot. Steve Sarkisian probably would be the easiest fix for that position. Because of what he's proven this year. I mean, he did a good job last year, but this year he not only do Mac Jones and some of the receivers and the running backs. Not only are they weapons, but Steve Sarkisian is a weapon for Alabama's offense also, because he's the one that's downing up all these great plays. It seems like the plays just kind of flows, from one play to the next,
Yeah, I mean,
but when you talk about, go ahead.
I was just saying, you look at kind of what Steve Sarkisian, and I mentioned this earlier. I mean, he really resurrected his career, I think. And I think Nick Saban has saw that because, everybody goes through different points in their life. And Steve Sarkisian is one of the guys, from what he went through at USC and then back to Atlanta, because he made a pit stop here in Tuscaloosa and then went to Atlanta as their OC. And I think Nick Saban has so much confidence in him and really respects what he's done with his career and how he coaches, and, the offense. And he's really, I think, influenced these quarterbacks to be highly efficient quarterbacks, from Tua to Mac. And I think he's just done such an incredible job from the offensive standpoint. But go ahead, continue your point, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, and he's also I'm pretty sure he's grown too. I mean, I know he went through a challenging point in his life and career at one point in time, but I think that I'm pretty sure he's very appreciative of what Saban has done for him. And Saban has done a lot for a lot of people, a lot of resurrecting a lot of careers, and I think that he's kind of done that with Steve also. If anybody had to fill that position at this point in time, I think it'd be Steve. But when we're talking about defense, you have to talk about offense as well. The offense, when you talk about, offense holding on to the football, scoring points and eating up clock. What's that doing? That's keeping the opponent's offense off the field from scoring points, and moving the football down the field. So when you have when you talk about defense, you got to talk about offense also. I know that there's not that much pass rush on this team, and that's probably because you don't have a Quentin Williams or a Jonathan Allen, Tim Williams, Jaron Reed, Ashawn Robinson, or Ryan Anderson. Those guys were like alpha dogs. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing an alpha dog on this team at this point. I know we can say Dylan Moses is a leader. I don't see that alpha coming out of him this season at all. Maybe he needs somebody else there to, I guess, bring it out of him. But I'm not seeing that in Dylan Moses. And like I told you one time before, this team kind of takes on the personality of who's leading it, and Pete Golden is leading his defense. And I think that's what we're getting right now. I think we're getting a team that doesn't really look confident and aggressive like we should be. But the Tennessee game was by far their best effort overall. I know they did a pretty decent job against Georgia, but overall, I think the Tennessee game was their best effort. Our corners, man, I think our corners are probably the most consistent players on the defense. I mean, they are physical. They probably are the best tacklers on the team as well. And the freshmen on defense, I mean, they're playing outstanding, man. I mean, Malachi Moore and Brian Branch. I think he covered pretty well. And I think that in the Tennessee game, he covered pretty well. And I think that's what Nick Saban brought up today. I think he was the only guy that had a pressure in the game and a pass. He had a pass breakup also. It could have been an interception. But yeah, we do have to get more pressure on the quarterback because, if our defensive front can put more pressure on the quarterback, that means that the quarterbacks are making more errant throws that they don't want to make. And just like in the Georgia game, what you see Bennett do, we put pressure on him. We should have sacked him, but we made him make a throw that he didn't want to make. So, but I guess my question is it almost seems like the defense is kind of vanilla at times. It seems kind of basic, and I kind of wondering, are they holding back something? Are they holding back? Are they waiting for later on? But I don't know. And I'll say one more thing, man, and I get off so you can get to another caller. Was it Malachi Moore or was it Brian Branch? I think they were like one of the highest rated defensive players by Pro Football Focus this past week. Do you know if it was Malachi Moore or Brian Branch?
It was Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore actually graded out as the highest freshman. You see him on the screen right now. The highest player on the entire defense was Malachi Moore. So when you kind of look at those vibes of like that Minkah Fitzpatrick, a guy that can kind of do a lot, Malachi Moore certainly off to an impressive start. And I know it's hard to make comparisons against someone as good as Minkah, especially as just a freshman. But the way that Malachi Moore has certainly started off the season playing that star position, absolutely phenomenal. But you're right. I mean, it was Malachi Moore that led the entire defense with the highest Pro Football Focus grade. Anything else, Sam, while we got you on the line?
Just one more thing. And I think that when Nick Saban hears a lot of criticism coming, he knows that our defense needs work. He knows that our defense needs to improve. But he's not gonna, when he hears someone else criticizing his defense or any team, any player or his team overall, he's gonna come to their defense, you know. And one thing I saw in the video also, and I've been talking to one of my friends about it, that they should use, and I've seen in the practice video that you all put out yesterday, they used it's one of those tackling sleds. Mm-hmm. It's like a dummy sled. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the first time I've seen that, and it looks brand new to me, to be honest with you. And that piece of equipment will assist them as far as like using their whole entire body, their arms and their legs, as far as, you know, proper tackling techniques. But that's all I got, man. I appreciate you for taking my call, and you know, I appreciate you all for the content and everything that y'all do, Kyle. I appreciate it, man. Have a good day.
All right, thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, that was Sam. Now, Alabama, called in many times. I appreciate the dialogue always. We got a 904-256, a 205-678, 678, and 615. You guys are all on deck, so be patient. I'll get to you guys as soon as I can right here on Bama Insider. If you guys could hit the thumbs up, I really appreciate it. Also, the super chats go a long way. As I mentioned before, I do have to pay for the call-in line, so I have to reload it after every single time. So the super chats certainly help that, and they help out with a lot of equipment as well. You know, different type of expenses that we hear at Bama Insider, and you know, so all the super chats and you guys, you know, watching our content certainly goes a long way. I appreciate it, and thank you so much. We'll start with our next caller. Is a 904. We'll take it right now. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Cal, this is Mike from Jacksonville. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, what's up, Mike? Thank you very much for calling in. I really appreciate it. You off to a good week? Is it productive for you?
Yeah, it's productive. I just put my Nick Saban hat away and I'm strategizing for this weekend, but I'm ready to roll now on your call.
All right, man. You're on the show, man. Take it.
I'm gonna start off with a question to you. What team in the SEC West, I even narrow it down to that point, that has nullified the air attack? What defense?
Arkansas, right?
This season.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't it been Arkansas?
Bam!
Right?
Bam!
I mean, you look at I mean, you look at what Arkansas's defense did against Ole Miss. I mean, you had, you know, the week before Matt Corral was like looked unstoppable. I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, Matt Corral has really improved under Lane Kiffin against Alabama, and then that next week he threw 5 interceptions against Sam Pittman. Now, you know, I think like taking what they did and just to get to your point, I mean, it's been Arkansas that's been able to stop the pass.
Absolutely. And the reason why, Cal, I brought that up is because Barry Odom, the defensive mind, you know, has really set the formula, has set up the formula for these air assault teams. Mm-hmm. He's running a zone. And what he's doing is one of the coaches called into another show, and I was listening to him because I was in agreement with him on the same, you know, pretty much we was on the same page. And what Barry Odom is doing that Alabama's not doing is Alabama keeps running a man, you know. Mm-hmm. They keep running man to man, and now you got these corners out there on the island, and you've seen what has happened, you know, on the air assault, you know, in the Ole Miss game, you know, blown coverages, sure, etc. All these areas wide open. What Barry has done is he set up and put an extra safety in. So in other words, you take a linebacker out. We know that Christian Harris is a little slow, right? Mm-hmm. When you're going from east to west. Mm-hmm. You put that fast linebacker in, and what he has done is in the zone play, man, I'm telling you, they swarming like bees. You got double coverage, you got triple coverage at times. You got the safety that's actually running, coming in as a pass rusher. They doing all kind of stuff, and so it works. And I'm just bewildered why Alabama doesn't go to that. I'm not saying you have to go through the whole game, but it changed up a little bit. We continue to go man to man, and we had these discussions before. The corners, on the flats has been left wide open where you couldn't even see a defensive player from Alabama, even in the camera shot.
Mm-hmm.
The middle has been left open, et cetera. And then you got these corners that the wide receiver run right past them and get behind them.
Yep.
And remember now, even in the Georgia game, if you go back and analyze all these games, it was drop balls. So now looking at doing a comparison and contrast and saying, looking at the quality of quarterback, a Trevor Lawrence, who I call a fake Fabian lookalike. You got Trevor Lawrence, you've got Justin Fields, and I'm just using that caliber type quarterback that can pick and burn you, and the balls are not going to be dropped. They're going to be on time. I take one game at a time. Everybody's looking at, playing Georgia again and all this and the national champ. I don't look at that. You take one game at a time. And in this game right here, I'm telling you, I don't understand Nick Saban being the genius he is in defense, why Alabama won't go to a zone and try that, what Barry Odom's doing. Everybody from ESPN, everybody's talking about it. Say, hey, man, Barry Odom is a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't understand that. But I'll get off that horse. I'm going to move on because one of the subjects I talked about, too, was the fact that Nick Saban, and I've had this discussion for the last 3 weeks now online, talking about, what time that Nick Saban need to exit and who would be his replacement. And like you, I agree with you. I kept saying Steve Sarkisian.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that, everything is already in place. The guy's an offensive mind, genius. And I'm even go even further and say, you know what? I even talked about, you remember Florida State? I call it the Florida State blueprint. Remember what Bobby Bowden did at Florida State with Jimbo Fisher?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Well, what he did with Jimbo Fisher, he hired Jimbo Fisher, and they went with a 5-year plan. And he says, Jimbo, I'm hiring you as my replacement. And in 5 years, you got Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
You complete, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to retire. I don't understand why, Nick Saban won't do that. I mean, the guy won everything. Maybe, he's looking at another natty, to break the tie with Bear. But the bottom line here is this right here. He needs to put in a twilight retirement thing. And I'm not kicking Nick Saban, so please, I'm not kicking him out the door. But with his age, he needs to set up and say, you know what? I'm going to establish a 5-year plan, and Steve Sarkisian is going to be my guy, and he knows he's going to be my guy. So that way he's got to run, they had already gave him a tremendous amount of money to stay. And, and we won't have to worry about him, another college stealing him because he's going to be the heir to the throne. So with that said, I think he would be outstanding. In regards to Pete Golden, and I know you're a Pete Golden guy, but I'm not. And I am not, man. I can't stand Pete Golden. And let me say, when you got Charlie Strong, Charles Huff sitting right there, Charlie Strong, wasn't an outstanding head coach, but just like, everybody else like approved and somebody like, man, this guy is a genius when it comes to defense. And so remember what happened in 2 years ago where they started letting Pete Golden making the calls because it was so the defensive coordinator, I forget his name, he went to the NFL now, but it was so atrocious that they turned the play calling over to Pete Golden. And a lot of fans didn't know that, it eventually got out. So a lot of fans didn't know that. But the same thing I think needs to happen in the sense that you bring, that Charlie Strong is an analyst right now. You bring him in. Let's see if he can call the plays, because remember now, even Nick Saban said this. He said, number one, and they asked him the question, he said, well, coach, you've had all these different coordinators. How do you keep stability with the Alabama defense? He said, we have set procedures in place. So the new coach comes in, basically he has to get accustomed to, what we do. And so with Charlie sitting there, we ain't talking about doing major service overhaul, but giving Charlie enough leeway to go ahead and implement his, minor changes to the defense and let him call the plays. So I'll leave that point at that. And my last thing is this right here. Well, I've got two things and I'm done. I'm looking at the Heisman. And, one thing that and I'll be honest with you, and I'm an honest guy. I was never a Matt Jones, fan last year, but I became one of his biggest fans. And such disrespect. I'm watching the ESPN. I read a lot, so I try to study the enemy and study what people, write. And all these articles they writing about the Heisman. They're talking about Trevor Lawrence, and they're talking about, they mentioned Matt Jones and them and Justin Field. With one game now, with Justin Field, with one game, he jumped to third. And everybody's just overwhelmed, article after article. Oh, Trevor, he's number one pick. Oh, Trevor, he's going to win the Heisman. And I'm like, and I go by what you said, and because I watch all your shows and stuff, and you a stats guy. And I was looking, I said, wait a minute, Gal just broke out the stats now and did a comparison and contrast to Trevor. And the man is smoking, Matt Jones is smoking. With the exception, what? It was the touchdowns that Trevor led, right? 17 to 12, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I follow you, man. So I'm looking, I said, other than that, his QBR is off the scale.
Yeah.
And so, and I said, you guys are, even on the NFL, the 2021 draft, which is so disrespectful, Matt Jones' name is not even mentioned, man. He's not even, they got North Dakota State guy, they got Justin Fields, and they got Trevor Lawrence. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This guy is just like, what happened when Joe Burrow last year. It looks like we're going the same avenue. And I compare Matt Jones right now. You might argue with me or you might disagree with me. But I compare Matt Jones to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers you ever see Aaron Rodgers got a quick release. He assesses the field real quick, and that ball is right there in your chest. So I kind of compare, Matt right now. He has come a long way. I compare him to Aaron Rodgers right now. And so looking at it, I'm his biggest cheerleader right now. And and when you start disrespecting me, I'm not saying to the general public, but the big thing and the last thing I got here, Mississippi State. And Kyle, you might know this, and I'm just asking the question because I was just reading an article where Mississippi State they lost 3 players, right? They quit the team. Now today, 3 more quit.
Yeah.
They got the running back. A running back. What in the H? I'm not gonna curse. What in the H is going on with Mississippi State and Mike Leach? And even Mike Leach said in a statement, he said, "Don't be surprised. There might be some more." So, do you know any insight what's going on with Mississippi State? And that's my last question, and I'm going to let the next caller have it.
Yeah, I'll answer on the other line. But thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the dialogue, and I'll talk about Leach on the other side, okay?
Okay, no problem. Thank you, bro.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think when you look at, number one, I have no insight into Mississippi State. I cover Alabama. I live in Tuscaloosa. I think, I have no idea, but it looks like there's some sort of exodus at Mississippi State. And anytime that's happening, it's because something obviously behind the scenes is going on. Mike Leach tweeted something on social media that, clearly wasn't the right thing to do. And who knows what the catalyst is for these players leaving. Tyrell Shavers is one of those guys who entered the transfer portal, or at least Mike Leach said he's no longer on the team. I have no idea what's going on, but I think kind of behind the scenes, it's not good. That's not what you want to happen during a first-year head coach. And then especially when you have the number 2 team on your schedule next in the Alabama Crimson Tide. I thought Mike brought up some great points kind of about the defense overall. If Alabama could, kind of move to the zone. I think Arkansas, what they did against Ole Miss, that's the type of defense. Now, a lot of people looking at Arkansas and kind of feeling like they're, something to kind of watch for. And I get it. I mean, Arkansas, Kentucky, those 2 teams, and especially on the defensive side, they'll probably come with it. But I guess, we'll have to see. Hey, by the way, thank you so much for the super chats. Brookins, I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you would super chat. And same with Big Buck. I appreciate it. So thank you very much. All super chats come right here to Kyle Henderson tonight, the host. So I really appreciate you guys super chatting, and I'll get to my next caller right now. Hey, thank you very much for being patient. We got a ton of people on the line tonight. So thank you for calling in. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
What's up, Kyle? This is Sean from Huntsville.
Hey, Sean. What's up, man? Thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate our dialogue all the time, man. So thank you for being patient. I know you're on the line for a long time, but, here we are. So Sean from Huntsville, man, take it away.
It's all good, man. I'll try to make this quick. I know you got other callers, man. But I wanted to just go over 3 real quick points for you. I coach this game, man, so I recognize this stuff, man. I would want to tell the fans that I don't know how many years Coach Saban been at Bama since, 2007 maybe? I have never seen a Bama defense play this much zone, never. Since his first 2 years. I think his first 2 years, we used to play a lot of zone. Then it was because we didn't have the athletes to man up like he want to play. But I've never seen a Bama team play this much zone, I swear, in 10 years, man. And to the fans that don't quite understand what I mean by zone defense is a defense that you play when either A, you are aware as a coaching staff that you cannot get any pressure on the offense, on the quarterback. You're aware of that. Or B, you playing a hot quarterback who's picking you apart in man. So you play zone. That's what all the defensive players, as far as the back end, drop in their zone, and sometimes the linebackers. You drop into a certain spot in the field and you stay there and cross your fingers. You rush your down lineman, whether that's 3 or 4 people. I watch us do that, man, and that's fine. It's not wrong to play a zone defense. Sometimes you have to, but never in my life have I seen us play zone that much against Tennessee, man. That's a bad sign, bro. That's a bad sign. I hate to be the pessimist on the show, but I got to keep it real with people to make them understand. This is Jared Guantanamo, man. This is not Trevor Lawrence. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Zone is something you play when you have a quarterback that, like I said, he's either hot, picking you apart, or he's just very, 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 very good. I've never seen Alabama play that much zone, man. And here's the bad part. Our safeties, the last caller was saying, we need to mix it up, go from man to this, that, and the third. But that's exactly what Alabama was doing, man. But we got beat in both. We got beat in man one time when I think his name is Jordan
Battle.
What's the safety, number 9?
Jordan Battle.
Yeah, Jordan Battle came out on the slot receiver by himself. Got caught flat-footed, stayed in phase too long.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't backpedal, didn't turn around fast. Another dude ran right by him. Ran right by him. Made Jordan Guantanamo look like the second coming of Peyton Manning, man.
Mm-hmm.
We was in zone one time. Daniel Wright in his zone. Waited too long. Did what we call in the coaching world, let the receiver get on top of him. Receiver got too close to him. He's still backpedaling. Dude ran right by him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bad part, man. The bad part is, guys, that's usually what happens when you playing a veteran quarterback, somebody who's been there, who know coverages, who know where to throw the ball. That don't happen against Jared Guantanamo, man. So that is a very, very bad sign. Very bad sign. And I don't know this for a fact, but I'll be willing to challenge any fan out there to go check right now. Playing that much zone usually means that you're aware that you're not getting any pressure. I would almost challenge anybody to go check our rank as far as stats in the conference. Check and see where Alabama ranks as far as defensive sacks. I guarantee you we're probably, if not at the bottom, we're probably close to the bottom. Gotta be. That's the only way a team plays that much zone, when you cannot get pressure on the quarterback. And I just don't understand. I told you, Kyle, a few shows ago, I hope Saban mix it up and run more of a Georgia-type defense, more of a multiple. Stay in your 3-4, but mix it up, man. Mix it up. There's no excuse for Will Anderson to be the only person that's trying to rush the quarterback. I just don't understand that, man. And here's what I want to end with. I love Bama, man. I've been a Bama fan since I was a child. I coach this game right now. I'm in my 40s right now. We're not ready to play a team like Clemson, man. We're just not. We're not ready to. I know all the fans want to, we Bama, man. Listen, we're not ready to play that quarterback, not that one. You have to understand, at Alabama, we don't face great quarterbacks in this conference. I think we got Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask. That's it. These other guys are very, very mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
When you play that guy, Trevor Lawrence, I want everybody to remember we played them in Silicon Valley. Dude started out like 8 for 8, was bombing on us, man. That guy's seen it all. We're not ready to play that caliber of quarterback yet, man. Not right now. We need a few more games to get our defense together, to get the pass rush together. We have got to put pressure on the quarterback, or we're going to be in some trouble, man. It may not show against these teams we play here, but it's going to show when you play against the better quarterbacks. And here's one more thing before I get off. Mississippi State doesn't have a top-tier quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to disrespect him, but he's not Peyton. He's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not Justin Fields. But what Mike Leach do well is his quarterbacks throw the ball. They throw the ball, man, at least 60 times a game, 55, 60 times a game. So he may miss a lot of them, but he's going to give his quarterbacks chances to make up for them. They throw the ball a lot. So I know if I've seen this on film, when I went back and watched the tape, I know Mike Leach has. So you better believe he's going to attack Alabama safeties. I'm telling you this. And I'm afraid, man, without pass rush that we're going to give up some points, man. It just bothered me that I don't understand why we cannot manufacture some pressure on the quarterback. I do not understand it. I know what I think. I told you before, Kyle, I hope they tweak that scheme. I don't like that scheme Coach Saban runs still. I like more what Georgia do. They run the same scheme, but they're multiple, meaning they switch it up. Like you may have pressure coming from the middle. You may have pressure coming from the outside linebackers. You may have corner pressure. And one more thing, one last thing. If you go back and watch the Georgia tape, this is the disturbing part. Georgia had wide receivers that was open, brothers and sisters. They had wide receivers all night long, tight ends coming down the seam, wide receivers running on post routes. That was wide open. The little dude just couldn't get him the ball. Stetson just couldn't get him the ball. They were wide running backs in the flat. They was wide open all night long. If you think Trevor Lawrence would miss that, you kidding yourself. You really kidding yourself. That team beat us 52 to, 14? I know we gave them, 14 points. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you cannot manufacture pressure, guys, we're going to be in trouble, man. We don't have Marlon Humphrey back there anymore. We don't have Eddie Jackson and Minka Fitzpatrick back there anymore. These guys could make up for it without pressure. They were just that good. These guys we got back there now are young. Jordan Ballard's just, a sophomore, I think?
Yes.
They're young, man. I know Wright is a little older, but Jordan Battle is young, brothers. Young. And right now, we need a few more games before we start playing these guys. And I'll end with, hopefully, they'll put some pressure on the quarterback, man, because this defense we're playing right now will be the best defense we've saw since Georgia. Mississippi State is not bad on defense at all. At all. So just cross your fingers, man. Our pass defense need to be better. Our rushing defense need to be better. Put more pressure, and just cross your fingers, man. You know what I mean? Hope for the best. You know what I mean? I appreciate you taking my call, Kyle, once again, man.
All right, man. Stay blessed, Sean. Thank you so much for calling in, man. We'll catch up with you next time, okay?
No problem.
I mean, if there was one truth call on tonight's show, speaking about the defense, I mean, that was it, right? I mean, talking about, and I like the point that Sean made about trying to manufacture pressure, because I think when I look at this defense right now, and it's kind of interesting because in that second half of the Georgia game, what did Alabama do, right? Stetson Bennett. They went after him. They put pressure on him. And what did Stetson Bennett do? Now, I get it. Stetson Bennett, I didn't think he's a good quarterback. But the point is, the pressure that Alabama was able to dial up was able to create turnovers on that other side, right? 2 punts by Georgia, 2 interceptions. So it's like, where was the pass rush in this last game? 1 quarterback hurry. Those are the stats. Like, seriously, I'll show you, and we're going to take the next call in just a second, but I'll show you. These are the stats, fam. All right, look, let me get this banner off. Okay, you see you have sacks 0, okay? And you have quarterback hurries. That's the second from the right. 1, which is from Brian Branch. Those are the stats. Like, where was the pressure? And if you can't manufacture pressure, you're going to get beat over the top. Just like Sean was saying, I mean, those guys are young. I get it. Jordan Battle, very capable. He's seen time just because he's played so much as a freshman, but he's only a sophomore. Daniel Wright, I think he's got beat over the top a couple times, but he's played in like 27 games. Malachi Moore, just a freshman. Josh Joe, Patrick Surtain, we have confidence in those guys. But point is, if those guys have to cover for a long time, it's going to be difficult for those guys. Okay, we'll take our next caller starting right now. Hey, what's up? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, this is Shane from Baltimore.
Hey, what's up, Shane? Thank you very much. Appreciate you calling in. Shane, right?
Yeah, Shane, like the cowboy.
All right.
Don't mix me up with Sean, because I'm not trying to compete with Sean from Huntsville. He knows what he's talking about.
All right. All right, man. Go ahead.
I can answer his question, though. Alabama is tied for 81st in sacks right now.
81st in sacks? Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, tied for 81st. And if you're curious, Clemson is 4th. So
Wow.
Thanks
for,
I'm
thanks
not
for
trying
those
to think
stats,
about
by the way,
Clemson
Shane.
right now.
Wow.
Let's worry about that when the time comes, right? I just got a couple things. I'm going to try to be positive here. First off, in 20 years, Nick Saban's going to turn 50 years old because he's aging backwards, man. Have you seen that guy?
Looks great.
I mean, yeah, I he's got me by 30 years, but I'm not challenging him to a race. I can tell you that. Okay, so yeah. Secondly, on the defense, everybody's talking about the defense, and rightly so. Sean brought up that we have been playing. I thought it was interesting because the call a couple before was talking about how we needed to start playing zone, but as Sean mentioned, and I noticed this too, we are already playing a lot more zone than we used to. And in addition to the reasons that he mentioned, another reason some teams play zone is that you have a dynamic threat at quarterback, so you want your players with their eyes on the backfield all the time, which is something to keep an eye out for, not only this week, but basically anytime we have a mobile quarterback we're coming up against. But I think the biggest issues I have right now, I mean, you've hit on the pass rush a ton. I'd like to see more of Byron Young and Christian Barmore getting pressure up the middle. I'd like to see them scheme up Chris Allen off the edge more because, I mean, I think he is up there. He's not Anderson. He's not William Anderson, but he's got moves, and I think he can make things happen if they put him in position to make those things happen. And then I'm just so disappointed with Dylan Moses this year. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's, I know sometimes players are not the same when they come back from a certain type of injury, but it's just, I don't know how many times I've seen him, get caught up in the muck on a running play or when they're swinging a tailback out of the backfield. And it's just not what we're used to seeing from our middle linebacker. The Mike position has to be able to close with speed on anything that gets outside, or be able to read where the hole is on the offensive line and come up and plug those gaps. And I'm just not seeing him do that. And it feels like a confidence issue because I know dude's got tons of talent. So I don't know. Hopefully he can turn the corner on that. I mean, right now I think Christian Harris is the best inside linebacker we've got. And lastly, I just want to say I'm impressed with Slade the Blade and playing in Jalen Waddle's position last week, but I want to ask you, do you see a role for Javon Baker as that dynamic speed guy with Waddle being out for the year?
Yeah, I think so. And I appreciate the stats at the beginning of the show, by the way. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to point that back out to Bama Insider on our message board because those stats are alarming, number one. But I think you bring up some good points, especially about Dylan Moses. And I know there's a lot of fans who felt the same way. It's because he's like that anchor who I felt would be of the defensive side. But I mean, I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, he's great. Like, for example, Nick Saban had high praise for him against Georgia, but then against Tennessee, it's almost like he took a step backward, right? So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Dylan Moses, if it's of confidence or if it's kind of that injury. When we look at a player like Slade Bolden, I think he did well, just as you mentioned, 6 receptions for 94 yards. But kind of when we look to who else could step up at that receiver position, you have a couple guys. I think Javon Baker, he's a freshman. We've talked about him before. There's 2 other freshmen that people should know about, Thal Jones-Bell, and then you have Trayshawn Holding. None of those, either of those guys haven't got onto the field yet. In fact, Javon Baker just played in 2 snaps against Tennessee. And then you also have Xavier Williams. People tend to forget about Xavier Williams. He's been with the team for a couple seasons now. But I think Javon Baker, and I've showed highlights of him, plenty of times. He's that guy that I feel has that alpha mentality, like give me the football, kind of that like Jordan-esque, like that's what Mac Jones talked about with Devontae Smith. Like when your eyes lock on somebody, and if you played competitive sports, that some people just have it. I think Javon Baker is certainly one of those guys. Will we get an opportunity to see him? I think so. It's going to take some time, but not a lot of freshmen are playing this year compared to other seasons, just because you don't have, some of those cupcakes in the beginning of the season. It's a gauntlet right now, and that's what we're in. But I think going forward, you're going to see more Javon Baker. What else you got, Shane? Anything else?
No, just the last thing. I think every time I call you from here on out, I'm going to say I'm going to give some props to the offensive line because these dudes, I've watched every game multiple times from this season. These dudes are as good a unit as we have ever had, at least in my 40 years of life. They are nasty. Landon Dickerson is a friggin' beast. I just, give it up to those guys. And this is coming. Look, you got to understand, I was the star center for the Rutledge Middle School Rams in like 1995. So I know what I'm talking about, okay?
All right.
Love
well,
your show, man. Take
yeah.
care.
Thank you
thanks
so
for taking
much,
my call.
Shane.
Have a good one.
I appreciate it. That was Shane calling in from Baltimore. I told you guys last time, I used to live in DC, and I also used to live in Alexandria, Virginia. So I'd fly in. I would fly from Albuquerque, New Mexico to BWI, and then I would take the Amtrak into the central station in DC, and then take it back across to when I lived in DC or to when I lived out in Virginia. So I've lived in a couple different places. Also lived in Pella, Iowa, and also I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then also in Redondo Beach in California. So I've been around, but now I reside in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Take a couple more calls, and then I'll close it out. But we got a 678, a 615, a 559, 205, and a 972. So that's kind of where we're going to cap it. So, and we'll take our 678 right now. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Good evening, Kyle. This is Kevin from Dallas, Georgia.
Kevin from Dallas. All right. Thank you very much for calling in. We appreciate it. Got a lot of love for the Lone Star State. So take it away.
Keys for the remainder of the season would be the health and the versatility of the offensive line. Because I just have to chime in as far as I had to pretty much chime in on what Shane just stated as far as this being the most versatile and best offensive line that we've had as far as depth-wise in a while. And I'm a teacher by trade, and I look at it as far as Saturday being a midterm exam. And I would say especially as far as for the defensive line and linebackers. Because, in the NFL, they have what they call the person who's the Turk, who when it's time to cutting time, he'll go by and he'll put that scarf on the locker, meaning you need to turn in your playbook at the end of the day. And it's sad, Kyle, it just appears that most of the dogs are on the offensive side of the ball and not on the defense. So it appears that and it also, as far as when it comes to the future of this program, it seems like the future of the program is going to be more so the class of 20, and then as far as those young men that are in the class of 21. And for all those people, Kyle, that keep saying, okay, get rid of Pete Golden, get rid of Pete Golden, two things you all need to be aware of. As far as two of those 50 million analysts that Coach Saban has, as far as Butch Jones as well as Charlie Strong, both of them are on other colleges' payroll. Until that time is over as far as being paid by, I think that's South Florida as well as University of Tennessee, those guys will remain in that capacity. Also, the one thing that has been a burr in the side of the University of Alabama over the past few years is that you have coaches as well as players that have always used as a negative when it comes to University of Alabama is staff continuity. Because you had a guy, for example, not star wide receiver, but one of the 5 stars at Ohio State University wide receiver named Julian Fleming. And the one thing that he harped on, and I don't know whether it was shade or whether it was factual, I mean, I just leave it up to the listeners to decide, but he stated that one reason why I didn't attend the University of Alabama was a matter of not knowing as far as what coaches were and were not going to be there. And that is something that's the key when it comes to recruiting as far as establishing relationships. So unless callers, fans, you all know someone that's going to be able to out-recruit Golding as far as the state of Louisiana, that's the only way you're going to get Pete Golding out as far as, and even when it comes to that, it would have to be at the conclusion of the season, not during the season.
I think you bring up a great point. And I'm sorry, Kevin, you're from Dallas, Georgia. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. I thought you said Dallas, Texas. My apologies. I do all like the edit. I do like a million things at once. So I apologize for that. So Kevin from Dallas, Georgia, I think you bring up a great point because everyone's like, just insert, Charlie Strong, insert, these other guys that are on the payroll. Well, then Alabama's going to have to front the bill. It just doesn't work like that. That's why I think like with these mid-season changes, I just don't see that happening. And it's not going to happen. I think every single position will be reevaluated at the end of the season. I think there probably will be some coaching changes at the end of the season, but in terms of like a mid-season change, people have to understand that these guys are on other people's payrolls. And one particular guy, it's like Butch Jones. I think he's making like $52,000 a week still from Tennessee, which is unbelievable. So people like to like laugh at Butch Jones and kind of make these remarks, but it's like if you were making $52,000 a week, I think you'd be just fine with whatever anybody said about you. What else you got, Kevin, when you kind of look at this team and the potential challenges that Mississippi State or any other teams kind of remaining on the schedule could present to Alabama as we kind of move towards the second half of the regular season?
Well, as far as the caller had, as far as stated earlier, and I have to agree, and I was just wondering whether anyone saw what I saw, and it was just a matter of Arkansas. I believe that Arkansas is going to be the most physical game that Alabama plays this year. It's going to be probably the most challenging game as far as Alabama's offense versus an opposing defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going with that rivalry as far as Auburn. I mean, I believe that it's going to be pretty much the death knell as far as Malzahn is concerned. They got to go on, and as far as the gentleman at Regions, they just have to go on and back up the truck and just go and give Coach Malzahn some of that Region money, because I don't know whether he's going to be able to weather this storm. But I'm interested, Kyle, as far as to see who will fill those last 4 spots in the class of 2021. Because I believe if we get the right 4 players, whether it happens to be the one young man, whether it's Thomas from Louisiana, or whether it's that package deal as far as Florida, as far as Arnold and Sorey, or whether we can also get another D lineman. I think that those 4 spots will serve as the catalyst as far as for the University of Alabama for the next 2-3 years.
I think we talked recruiting last night with Andrew Bone, and we have Alabama certainly in play for Sage Ryan, who's a defensive back, and a lot of people are feel confident that he could be next to join this class, which would be pretty remarkable considering that Alabama just got JaQuincy McKinstry, another talented corner. So you looked at Alabama kind of stacking onto that defensive side of the ball as those spots close up. I think another player that could be certainly in the mix is Terrion Arnold. He's another player on that defensive side of the ball, very talented basketball player as well. Can't even imagine if Alabama somehow was able to get JaQuincy, Sage Ryan, and then Terrion Arnold. Talk about guys who are like serious ballers. And and then you kind of look at maybe an Xavier Sorey. I think that Andrew has mentioned him several times. And then you look at another wide receiver, if it could be Brian Thomas, a guy that is a taller wide receiver, which is something that Alabama doesn't necessarily have. I think Trayshawn Holden is probably their tallest wide receiver right now. But you look at Ja'Cory Brooks, Ajay Hall; those guys are both in that 6'3" range. You add on Brian Thomas, who's another 6'4", and then you got Christian Leary, who's kind of that slot guy, and you could be set. So either way, I think those are the kind of the remaining targets. I'd be curious to see if they did add another offensive lineman. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. But it could be another strong day for Alabama. But I appreciate you calling in, Kevin. I'm going to run to my next callers kind of as I wind out my show. But thank you very much, and please call again.
Will do. Thanks, Kyle, and appreciate what you do, man.
Yeah, take it easy. All right, that was Kevin from Dallas, Georgia. I mistakenly said Dallas, Texas, so my bad on that. All right, got 3 more calls that I'm gonna take, and then I'm gonna crash out for the night and tuck my little ones in. So thank you very much for everybody that has called in, that has super chatted. I'm overwhelmed and really grateful. It really means a great deal that you guys would take time to watch the show. Also, thumbs up, and then you can search it again on podcast, wherever you get your podcast. I'll upload it after the show. So thank you very much. We'll take a couple more calls, and then we'll split out. All right. Thank you very much for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. It's Aaron from Tennessee.
Hey, what's up, Aaron?
And,
thank you so much.
Hey, I just wanted to talk about Will Reichard and our special teams. I mean, I've just been really impressed with Will Reichard and how he's been doing, and I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're honestly the first caller. I don't even know how many callers we've had. Maybe 20 callers tonight or whatever. And I mean, Will Reichard, what he's been able to do has been pretty incredible. I think when you look at Alabama, they always have every single position covered, right? They have the best wide receivers. They have usually the best quarterback, certainly the best running back, same on defense. It's kind of like business as usual. But the thing this year is now you look at Will Reichard, and he's only kicked 6 field goals, but he's 6 for 6. And I think in terms of that for Alabama fans, I think you'll take anything, right? You'll take a 5 for 6. You'll take 4 for 6 is good for Alabama fans. But this guy coming in, especially with that 52-yard field goal that he hit, that's kind of just been icing on the cake. He's also 32 of 32 kicking PATs. And I mean, we've seen Alabama kickers miss PATs occasionally, right? It happens more than once. So what Will Reichert has been able to do has been, I guess, spectacular through 5 games. And we'll see if he can continue to hit that hot stretch. But I think, I mean, even on this photo that I'm zooming in, he kind of has like that attitude that he wants to, like, he's kind of like a alpha kicker, if that even exists. I like kind of that, mentality it comes with. And certainly off to a hot start. So thank you for bringing up Will Reichert. You're the only caller to kind of mention that, and certainly think that he needs some props.
Yeah, I was able to actually meet Will Reichert at a kicking camp in 2018, and he was just phenomenal, right? He took over. He was the star of the show. Like, but when he was taking his steps, when he was getting lined up, like, you don't talk to him. He just lines his steps up. He went like 29 for 30 at that camp. He was just wow.
Yeah, he's I mean, clearly, and the thing about him too is, I don't think a lot of people know this, but he actually started taking over for kickoffs. Alabama initially started the season off with Chase Allen, who was a walk-on kicker for kickoffs, and then Will Reichert took over that. And then so get this right now, when we're talking about special teams, very vital part of the game. Alabama currently has, for the punter, they started this last game, Charlie Scott, the brother of J.K. Scott. His average was like 35.4. And then, the previous games, it was Sam Johnson, same average, like 35.4. It was literally the same. I don't know what's going on with Ty Pirine. I don't know why he hasn't seen the field. I've said that, plenty of times that, we're kind of wondering where he's at. There's clearly a reason he's not punting. But Will Reichert is the emergency punter as well. So I don't know if he's eventually going to be the punter, but can you imagine if he was kicking PATs, kickoffs, and also serving as the punter? I mean, that could be pretty amazing. What else you got on Will Reichert? I mean, could you just tell that he was going to be this good?
I mean, well, that was back in 2018. Like, he had like some offers. He didn't have those offers. And I've been a Bama fan since I was born and raised. My third word was Roll Tide. So, well, really fourth, third, and yeah, I just knew, like, hey, I know this guy. He's probably gonna make it to the league eventually. And I'm gonna just talk about one more thing, because there's a few more callers. I've been waiting. I know what it's like, yeah, you're talking about Ty Pirine and like, where's him? What's happened to Joseph? Oh, not Joseph Bulovas. Skylar DeLong. Where did he go?
So 2 questions that I frequently get are about not as many questions on Skylar DeLong. Oh, there he is. Hey, what's up, Bombs? Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Bombs always dropping bombs. Thank you, Bombs. I appreciate it. So Skylar DeLong, I think he's not injured, and he's not in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. So that kind of leads me to think that he might be an opt-out guy. Now, I don't know that for sure. Alabama said at the beginning of the season, or Nick Saban said that if those guys want to announce that they are opt-outs, then they can go ahead and announce that on their own, but they're not going to tell you who has opted out. So I don't even know that for sure, but just kind of reading the signs on the wall, that's what it looks like for Skylar DeLong. And the same for Killen Robinson. People always ask me, like, every day I get a question. They're like, where's Killen Robinson? Put Killen Robinson in. He's not in the transfer portal. He's not injured. So I think like he could fit that criteria to be an opt-out guy. Now, I don't know that for sure. That's up to those guys. And those are like privacy issues with those guys. Certainly a guy like, Killen Robinson could, I think, be an impact player. So hopefully those guys are able to, in some way come back and be effective during the 2021 season. Everybody gets an extra year this year. It's a blanket year. So Skylar DeLong, he certainly has an opportunity to come back, or whatever the case is, and win that punting job. Anything else while we got you on the line, buddy?
I think that's it, but I'm really excited to see Will going on through these 5 games, this SEC championship, and if we make the playoffs. But I don't think anyone is going to take his job when he goes in through junior year and senior year. That's all I gotta say, though.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate you calling in, and please call again next time. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. Bye.
All right. Take it easy. All right, 3 more calls and that's it. All right, 5. We got a 559, a 205, and a 205, and that'll be it. And then end the show. So we'll take our next caller starting now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Thank you very much for calling in. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, how's it going? This is Tobias Brookins calling from Fresno, California.
Hey, what's up, man?
And,
thank you so much for the super
chat.
What's
going on, big boss? Oh yeah, man. the work you do and put into this, man. I've been watching it for a while. I'm like, man, this guy is a beast, man. He's just talented, man, upgrading the program. Because we needed that, man. I was like, I got to do something during this COVID stuff. I'm like, man, we're not going to have football. And, man, boy, I found Cal. I was like, oh, man, thank God. Somebody talking real football. But I just want to say that you're doing a good job, man. Keep up the good work, man. You bless a lot of people. And with Alabama, hey, people better listen to Sean. That's all I got to say, man. I'm an ex-D1 athlete. They better listen to Sean. There's a lot of things that are being exposed that are not, teams are not taking advantage of it. So it's not showing up like that. But when you go back and watch the tape, and it's good to be on a show where other people watch football like football players, man, you go back and look at that tape. There's no way we trying to mess with Clemson right now. And Clemson got flaws too. I went back and looked at a couple of their films, but
yeah,
there's no way we want a great quarterback. So I would just say this: we better clean it up. We do have a week off after this week. Hopefully, we can get through this Mississippi State. But I'm just wondering, why aren't they rotating more D linemen in? Why aren't they we have linebackers behind Dylan Moses. That kid played last year. Why hasn't he been in? I get that Dylan, it's a lot of sacrifice. He was hurt, but man, they're not attacking. They're not, man. They're getting caught up in the wash, blown downfield. Just watch that defensive line get there on roller skates, man, often. So, and that's not a slight to these young guys, because hey, I know what it is to be a D1 athlete and to have people criticizing you. So I'm not here to criticize, but it is what it is. I wanted to ask you, Kyle, because you would know this probably. What happened to Sopshire? Why did he enter the portal?
I think with Sopshire, and in case you guys missed it, Ismail Sopshire just recently entered the NCAA transfer portal. He was a redshirt freshman here at Alabama, and he hasn't announced that he has officially transferred. And we've seen kind of guys with this new transfer portal, they can sit in the transfer portal and then they can come back in. Kind of point to a guy like Scooby Carter, who was in, out, and then finally dipped out. I think kind of the writing was on the wall with him. In my opinion, I wish he would have stayed to kind of, go through the process and get onto the field, get a little bit more developed. But I think, I don't know like the entire backstory, but as soon as Tim Smith and Jamil Burrows got on the field before Sopshire, then Sopshire dipped out. So I think it's kind of like, he probably feels like he's worked hard to get to this level because he came in really heavy last year. And he took that weight off, and he looked good during fall training camp. But I think Alabama's looking for pass rushers, and he's more of a run stuffer. And maybe that's why they gave the opportunity to Tim Smith and Jamil Burrows before him. So, we'll have to see where he winds up. I think he would have got onto the field eventually. But, sometimes you got to do what's best, if you're a player, just like coaches. I mean, coaches are always stay and wait. Meanwhile, the coaches are also looking for, other opportunities that could be better for them. So I guess we'll just have to see.
No, I'm not even mad at that, Kyle. So yeah. I hear you. Well, you just said something, and I'll leave you with this. You said they're looking for more pass rushers.
Mm-hmm.
We can't stop the run.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I'll leave you with that. Leave you with that.
Yeah,
hey man, bless you.
Thank you so much for the super chats. I really appreciate it. I always see you super chatting, so thank you so much. Stay blessed, and out in the valley, I appreciate the call from Fresno, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, take it easy. All right, Tobias out in Fresno. I got two more callers. Take our next caller starting right now. Hey, good evening. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Oh, good evening, Kyle. This is Waylon from North Alabama. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for calling in. I missed your first name. What was your first name, sir?
First name is Waylon.
Waylon. Okay. Waylon from North Alabama?
Yeah, I live up here in Northwest Alabama. I've been up here all my life. I'll listen to the other podcasts quite a bit. I listen to a lot of podcasters, and I listen to Sean every week. From Huntsville, Sean knows me well. He listens to me also. And it's simple as this on the defense. There's two things. To me, it's very simple, and I think you agree with this, and Sean would too. You look at the defense, I say we're down on talent. I see people say we're not down on talent. Okay, we're not down on talent. Then they don't understand what's going on. It's those two simple things. You either got the talent or you don't understand what's going on. Am I sort of right or am I missing something?
I mean, I kind of go back and forth. Is it kind of like the X's and O's, or is it the Jimmys and Joes, right? I mean, is it the guys, is it Pete Golding, or is a guy like Daniel Wright, or is a guy like Dylan Moses not playing up to, the best of his abilities? I don't know. I mean, maybe I need a larger sample size. I keep seeing, I felt confident about the defense against Georgia, and then against Tennessee, that seemed like a more of X's and O's kind of standpoint, that Alabama wasn't sending pressure. So I kind of go back like, back and forth.
Right, I understand. Well, it's got to be those two simple things. You're either lacking a little bit in talent or a little bit on smarts. It's either sometimes you have to make up one another way. But anyway, the reason they say also, and I'll get out of here on this, the reason why we don't have a coach ready, we lost a major component in Alabama history when we lost Coach Moore. Coach Moore gave his life, everything he had for that university. And he always was looking forward. When you lose a key component like Coach Moore, and I can't find anyone left, I go back to the Coach Bryant days. I talk to guys that I'm 25 plus years older than on these podcasts. If not more, I can go back to the Coach Bryant days. Coach Moore learned that from Coach Bryant. We got to be ready. We got to have somebody to put in, get somebody ready to be coach, or somebody decides to leave or has a health problem or something. Let's sort of push somebody up. We're not pushing somebody out, but let's tell Coach Saban, we're going to put this guy right here. We give him the money, keep him here. You learn him, and when you get ready to go, we'll have somebody to fall back on. I'm afraid if something like that don't happen. Are we going to have somebody to fall back on and go back to some of the years we suffered during the losses? And I'm not knocking Mike Shula. I love him. I've met him a million times. He's a great guy. But, I don't know, Kyle. There's a lot of things. And Dabo, this is Dabo's. Dabo, I know him well. I had players that I played with in high school that played on that 92 team. I know a lot of guys from that year. Dabo is an American success story. Bottom line. He learned it from Coach Stallings. Coach Stallings learned it from Coach Bryant. Dabo took the Alabama mentality to Clemson in the weakest conference in the country and built an Alabama team. Period. People say they don't play anybody. They don't play nobody. They don't. But they play Alabama every time they play us. Play for play.
I think that's
every time we play.
That's a good point, because you point to their schedule, right? And you're like, Clemson, they're not playing anybody. But every time that Clemson and Alabama play, you're just like, oh crap, like this is Clemson. They're going to play up. And you kind of look to that game. I was in San Francisco, or, wherever they played the national championship. It's not even San Francisco anymore. It's like north of San Francisco. And I'm a 49er fan, so it's Santa Clara. And Clemson, I mean, that last drive that they had against Alabama was so imposing. It just took the entire will out of Alabama. It was like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, I understand. That's what Dabo's done. Dabo's an intelligent man. He's had success. I'm proud for him. I'm Alabama, win, lose, or draw. I hate to see us butt heads with them, but they got a talented football team. They've done showed it. The games we beat them in, it was close. We beat them one time in the playoff game in the Sugar Bowl pretty good. Otherwise, it's been dog eat dog, and you know that just like I do.
Yep.
Dabo knows what he's doing. He's took it there and developed that Alabama team, and the weakest conference in the country, nobody's going to beat them.
No way.
So they get to the playoff.
And I don't even think, I mean, people
Great show, Kyle.
Hold on, Waylon, before you go.
Go ahead.
Before you go, I mean, people keep pointing to Notre Dame, right? I mean, Notre Dame, I mean, paper tiger, right? I mean, am I the only one that sees that from Notre Dame? It's like, I don't feel that Notre Dame is a top 5 team. I mean, I'm not just pointing to the Louisville game. I just think over the past couple of seasons, Notre Dame hasn't been what we thought Notre Dame was going to be. So I think, like, to add to your point, there's no one from the ACC that is going to challenge this Clemson team. It's not their fault. I mean, but what Dabo's done in terms of keeping Brett Venables as well. I mean, I think that they've done a great job with their coaching continuity, and that certainly helps with their success. Also, it isn't, it doesn't hurt when you have, Trevor Lawrence and that backup quarterback. He's pretty good as well. DJ Ugalele or whatever his name is. I mean, the kid's an absolute beast.
It's unreal. I mean, and I predicted at the beginning of the season, I'm out of here. I said it'd be Alabama and Clemson again. Losing Jalen Waddle is unreal. Do you replace Jalen Waddle? There's nobody on that team that can replace Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right.
He's an over-the-top player that the defense has only had to prepare for, just him. Kyle, great show. Thanks for taking the call. Everybody have a blessed week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Waylon. Appreciate it. Waylon from Northwest Alabama. Appreciate it. That was my first time talking to Waylon. I felt like I was talking to a celebrity. He's getting a lot of feedback in the comment box. So my bad for not knowing kind of Waylon, but thank you so much. It sounds like he had so much history. Like to pick his brain about a couple things, but he brings up a good point. I'll take one more caller and then that's it for me. In terms of who from Alabama, let me ask you this as kind of closing out the show. Who on Alabama's team now, in terms of their wide receiver unit, can go and beat the defensive backs over the top, right? You got Smitty, you got Mechie. Maybe it's Smitty, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just Smitty, and then you got who I still want to see. I still want to see Javon Baker. We'll see. Here we go. We got our last caller of the night. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Thank you for being patient. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mo from Tuscaloosa.
Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate you calling in. I'm sorry, what was your first name?
Mo.
Hey, what's up, Mo? Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling, man. Thanks for being patient, man. You're on the show. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah. So Mr. Whalen, just saying about the Clemson thing. Obviously, we know Clemson is great, right? So, I mean, you can't take away the conference they play in, but you got to take into account who they play and how healthy they are when they do play us.
Mm-hmm.
Versus us coming through the SEC, and then by the time we get to them, we're beat up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the more healthier team, although they are talented, although they are very well talented, they still are probably the better team just off of injury and things like that alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could play with the times when we've beat them or played them, we've had like a significant injury. Tua still wasn't 100% even when they beat us a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that just says a lot. Like, it shouldn't, like, you got to take into value of like the conferences as well. Like, okay, everybody look at it for Alabama or Nick Saban to be like this how people put Jordan in, like, well, how Skip Bayless talk about Jordan. Oh, well, yeah, he would have beat Golden State in 7 games, and Shannon is just like, no. Like, you got to understand the different areas or the different conferences, so to speak, in this situation. Like, okay, if Bama had Duke, NC State, Wake Forest, Florida State, you're like, come on, like all year, and Clemson is in the SEC, right? And they playing Auburn,
mm-hmm.
Texas A&M, Florida, Georgia. By the time they get to us, they're gonna be poo-puffs. Like, it's just that. Like, they beat up. Like, and we coming out there just like the start of spring camp, right? So it's in no disrespect to Mr. Waller, because he had a good point, but I think a lot of the times we kind of don't take into account. And I'm having you on your last call, Kyle. I'm having you on your last call because I just want to make this clear. Alabama football, as an Alabama fan, we tend to like to go through the hard stuff. You know, like we want, oh, well, that's what Alabama is about. Well, that's what Alabama is about. But the scale it's a gray area. It's not black and white. Let's be honest. Ohio State could play two games less than us and still make the playoffs and still playing against a lesser schedule. Clemson while most conferences are playing all conference games, Clemson still played Campbell or somebody. Like, come on, like we gotta think. Like they already got a walkthrough. As a matter of fact, put Campbell in the ACC. It's that bad. Like, no one's over there doing nothing significant. North Carolina showed they was a fluke.
Yeah, they did.
Right? Like, come on. Like, they had North Carolina at 5, and they go to Florida State. Florida State ain't beat nobody worth seeing since Jameis.
They almost lost. Florida State upset Jacksonville State.
They upset Jacksonville. Think about that.
That's what I'm saying.
We have in the state of Alabama. We have a legit 3 teams that could probably play with or beat Florida State. You can go UAB. You can go Troy. And South Alabama might sneak them. We ain't even talking about the top schools. But this is the people that Clemson gets to play. So, and then they overrank people, right? Because they want Clemson to make it seem like they have some sort of type of strength of schedule. And I'm sorry I'm bitching right now, but I just got to make this clear. I'm sorry, Kyle. So North Carolina, right? Although they have a good, they do have a good team, but you ever see one of those things on Bleacher Reports where they're like, are they pretenders or contenders?
Yeah.
We know North Carolina is not no contender. Like, they overranked them to make Clemson's schedule not seem as worse as it really is. Like, seriously. Like, Syracuse played with Clemson to, like, the end of the third quarter. Now, let them play with Bama that way. Bama drops to 6. Like, it's not even fair, but that's neither here nor there. That's one quick, and I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I'm gonna get off the phone so you can answer it, Kyle. Okay, my second thing. No, I got 2 more. I'm sorry. Kurt Herbstreit and Pollock said that, and I know all of us seen this. That down that Jalen Waddle is down, that Alabama national championship hosts are dead. Now, I came on your show late, so I didn't see if this question was asked already. So I'm gonna let that slide. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like both of them are homers, and they just want somebody else besides Bama and Clemson. My last one is Joel Klatt. So I'm a big Colin Cowherd fan, right?
Yeah.
I
got you.
Sports One.
Yep.
I love Colin Cowherd, and every time he brings Joel Klatt on there, Joel Klatt had the nerve to rank Ohio State over Alabama with 1-0. Like, dude, I don't call for people's jobs, but you deserve a pay cut. Like, you are terrible. And, like, you're not even trying to disguise that you're a homer. Like, you went to Colorado, you was you was half-decent quarterback, and somebody gave you a job. And you just hate the SEC, and most of all, you hate Alabama, and it's terrible. They need to stop letting you get views on national television because and I'm going to end with this, because one thing he don't know, because we come from real programs, you spraying rat poison. Kyle, we love you. You still my country cousin, brother. I'm going to let you speak now.
All right, Mo, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. I'll answer on the other line, and then I'll catch you next time. But thank you for waiting to catch up, Mo. And I think you bring up some great points from Polak, from Herbie, and then of course from Joel. I definitely saw those. So thank you so much. I'll answer on the other line. All right.
All right, bro.
All right. Thanks, Mo. All right. I know I got a couple more callers just calling in. I can't take them. I got to bail out. I got to kiss my little ones goodnight. I've been on here for 2 hours and 18 minutes. So Definitely need to hit it. But I think to go to Mo's point, and then I'll end it out. I think, people are tired of talking about Alabama, right? They're kind of like Bama fatigued in a sense, but I don't think that Nick Saban is fatigued. And I don't think that this team, even though they do have, some work to do on the defensive side, I think they're coming. And I think it's a matter of time until this team figures out the defensive side, or at least what's going to help the offense just outscore one of these comparable opponents as we look down the stretch. But as we all know, and we're talking hypotheticals here, I think that the number one thing that Alabama has to do is take care of Mississippi State. Just as you heard Mac Jones, just as you heard, Sean from Huntsville, just as you heard Nick Saban talk about tonight. I mean, this team is going to prevent a different type of challenge. I don't think Alabama has seen a team that has thrown the ball 70 times. Yes, I get it. They don't have the most dynamic quarterback, but I think Alabama will have a good midseason exam, as I think Shane from Baltimore said. So I think kind of tying everybody's calls in, this is a good opportunity as we head down this second half of the stretch to see how this defense can evolve, and if this defense can help this offense win a national championship. I point to that article that Chris Lowe of ESPN wrote, that Nick Saban said now that offense wins these championships, and the defense, they have to get to the quarterback. I think they have to show improvement, because if they don't, I think it's going to overall stop Alabama from beating a top tier team. But all eyes on Mississippi State as we continue to move forward. All right, fans, thank you very much for calling. I really appreciate all the feedback, all the super chats. It really means a lot to me. I put my all into every single thing that I do. And especially, when I spend time with you guys, I want you guys to know that I'm giving it my all. I produce the show by myself. I do all this stuff kind of on the back end. So I really appreciate it. I come with it. Like I every single thing that I do, from being with my wife, my kids, with you guys, I come with it, and I try to be the best version of myself. And I hope that emulates out here. So if I didn't get to you on the call line, don't take offense. It's nothing I got to break out. So have a beautiful rest of your week. I'll be back Saturday morning, and then we'll, of course, catch up during the post-game call-in show after Alabama, Mississippi State. Be productive. Have a blessed week. Take care of each other, and I'll catch you guys soon right here on BamaInsider.com. Thank you very much, fam.